Hello. I forgot to put my headphones on. They're somewhere here. All right, well, that's fine. I'll just bring people up on stage while I can't listen to things. But hello, all. I can't hear you, but I will hear you in a second. Okay, now I can hear things. How are you guys?
Good.
This is good. It's good that you're good. Yeah, fellas, thanks for being here. So I wanted to ask you, fellas, before we got started on the main topic, your thoughts on the developing trade war. Well, okay, multiple things, right? What's happening with Canada, which I don't think is unrelated to what's happening with Iran, and the master trade war. And if you guys haven't keeping up with that, then don't worry about it. If you haven't, but does anyone have an opinion on what's going on?
Well, what's Canada's beef?
Trump threatened the trade war with them, like to up these tariffs. Like you saw, what happened this weekend was that the Prime Minister of Canada said, if the U.S. wants it, we're ready to go. They were trying to avoid the situation. They were trying to make negotiations, but the negotiations have broken down. And once again, Trump is threatening them with yet another trade war.
Bluetooth connected.
Yeah, I think this is silly. If we had seen the $20 trillion of investment actually soak into the American economy, if we actually had seen all the reindustrialization as foreign and domestic companies reshored all of their manufacturing jobs, if we had seen all the things promised by the trade war, then maybe I would actually be like, oh wow, this is amazing. But of course, I think people know, or at least a substantial amount of people are betting on the fact that all they're going to have to do is outweight Trump. And so all they have to do is wait another few months. He'll be a lame duck. Wait another 2 years. He's going to be gone. And then we're going to be back to an international economic order.
Will we be back? I kind of reject this idea that we'll ever be back into what happened before. I think that, and this, to be clear, is not a criticism of you or counterpoints, but I think there is an idea out there in the world that among Americans, specifically among Americans, that, this is just yet another temporary setback. And then after, right, once we get a new president, whoever it may be, Democrat or Republican, right, that the world will understand, they'll forgive, and then we can just put things back. I think that was true after Trump won, not after Trump too.
Dear God, I hope that is not any Americans' take. I hope they're saying, Jesus, thank the Lord that they've torn down this corrupt liberal bullshit and it is falling apart in droves. I can't say a happier thing that I've seen than what Trump has done with foreign policy. First, he's giving Iran the whoopings. Then he's over here in fucking Panama. We got him in Venezuela. China's choking. They're going, they have no oil. They're buying oil from us. The New World Order's here, and it's America, baby. Get wrecked, bitches. There's a reason we have 11 super carriers and they got 0. There's the reason. It's because we control all the straits and they can do goddamn nothing about it. They have their high-tech missile system, defense system in Venezuela, and that shit didn't do shit. Now, maybe if they can do it in their home country since they have all the fucking logistics, maybe. But it sure doesn't look too good for Russia. They couldn't even take over former Russia. So I'm just saying, I think that we're doing what we can when we have the ability to do so. And y'all are going, Oh man, we hope the allies come back. I hope. Fuck those bitches. They ain't done shit. I'm glad it's time for a new world order. Let's start the new Polish Empire. We can start the fucking. They can ally with us. We can have the Rwandan Empire. We can team. It's new team sports now, boys. It's just it's the facts. I hate to break it to you. The liberal order's dead. Thank God.
Base. Because I think Gibbs is trolling like 90% of the time, I'm just gonna,
I'm not trolling at all.
I think he's like dead serious about that part, actually.
I was about to say, I think there's an undercurrent of actual sentiment.
I'm sure. I don't think even Republicans think they're doing well in foreign policy. So Gibbs, live on your island.
I think we're doing A+10 fantastic.
Of course,
S+.
Of course you do. With that said, I mean, will we return back to normal? I don't think most Americans believe we're going to return back to normal. I think most Americans want to return to a level of normalcy. They don't like the current toxic political landscape. But I do think there's a recognition based off how we treated our allies, based off a lot of the failures regarding the foreign conflicts that have been taking place, and also the growing sentiment that people do not want to engage into these international conflicts, especially if there is no reason for it. The Iran war. So ultimately, people want to feel like the world is not about to get destroyed every single week. That's the normalcy they want. But in terms of our general standing and our relationships, they're going to take a while to repair.
Yeah, so that's the thing that I wanted to focus. You seem like you're bringing it back there at the end. Specifically, I mean, I agree with you on the first part, right? People want to go back to a certain amount of normalcy in terms of their day-to-day lives. They don't like the constant chaos of the Trump years. Granted, but I'm talking about, yes, our international relationships, and I don't know if that just comes back. That's what I'm saying. That at some point, I guess it heals. Seems to be in the application I take from Counterpoint's words, and I think a lot of other people feel that way. And I'm saying no, it doesn't. I'm saying that yes, we were allowed our mulligan with Trump 1, right? No, you don't get the mulligan with Trump 2. And we see this again and again.
We made it through the Iraq war. It'll be fine. We invaded Afghanistan. We invaded Iraq. It'll be fine.
And it was hold on. So in those situations, and to be clear, I'm talking about our allies, right? Our allies were fine. What we're going to do, what do we ask them to do? Imperialism, right? They're down with imperialism. It's fine, right? As long as it benefits them, as long as it benefits Europe, as long as it doesn't inconvenience Asia, right? They're fine with it. And so that's not an issue, right? We spent our blood and treasure on all that. That's fine. I mean, it bothered the Europeans almost to the point that hey, America has less capacity to protect us, right? It certainly didn't bother China to watch us waste our money in the Middle East, right? So I mean, all that is just okay. Now, what's happening here is that we have deliberate attacks on their sovereignty, deliberate attacks on their financial systems, deliberate attacks on their ability to trade, right? And so, this is something that it goes back, right? Even Canada.
Are we talking about the Middle East and North Africa?
On who?
Are we talking about?
Sorry.
Are we talking about our Gulf state allies being attacked by Iran with impunity, or are we talking about Western allies like Greenland and Canada being upset that we're throwing our weight around?
Well, I mean, both. Especially since Iran the attacks from Iran were instigated by America attacking Iran first, illegally without any reason. That part, that's very important. I hear you, Gibbs. Okay, but no, sorry, Blackwood. Sorry, do you want me to clarify something?
Yeah, I want you to clarify
Sure.
who you're talking about. Who are we restricting trade with, or
sure
restricting somebody from trading?
I will tell you exactly who. Right. Did you see the a speech from Scott Bessent, our Treasury Secretary?
No.
Okay, no problem. Right. So the Trump administration for the past few days has said we're going to be cracking down on Iran hard. Right. And today is the day. Today is their I believe either Scott said this or was it Trump? One of the two, right? But calling it Economic D-Day. And by that they mean is that they are going to ramp up sanctions to a whole new level, which were already maximum on Iran, but they're going to the next level. Now the threat, the explicit threat, is that if any country around the world does any sort of business at all with Iran, we will place sanctions on them. But not just sanctions. No, they went to another level, Lacto. And I think you'll love this. Scott Bessent, in his speech, directly said, hey, if you don't comply, we'll remove you from the dollar system. The US dollar system. You get removed from that. And then...
There's zero chance this is going forward.
Yeah, but to be clear, that's exactly what he said. Please look it up so you don't think that I'm exaggerating. He said exactly those words, right? And then later on, he also said the obvious that most people, that people who understand these systems get, right? In response to a question, he's like, he was asked, okay, well, you guys called it economic D-Day, but in D-Day, we didn't warn the Germans, right? Yeah, like we didn't warn the Germans, we just invaded, right? Why didn't you just like put these plans into place immediately, right? And he said specifically, I'm not in a rush to blow up the global economic system, because he gets it, right? If he starts cutting people off from the dollar system, that means those people aren't allowed to buy our debt. We can't offload our debt to the rest of the world anymore, right? Like what that rebounds to us, Americans, it's a complete
that's why it's
disaster,
not going to happen.
And he gets it. But hold on. But that's a problem. Hold on. That's a problem, right? We can understand there's a problem. A counterpart, I'm sure you can, right? Like, hey, so we make a threat like this, a massive threat, and then we decide we're not going to actually follow it through. Why should any country listen to us? This is
because that's been the Trump administration the entire time. 80% of what he says is horseshit.
Agreed.
I think a lot of our allies are realizing that Trump rhetoric is a lot of like bluster.
But no, you're doing it again. You both are doing it again, right? What you're doing is saying, okay, they get it. They get like this is just like a illusionary, right? And then when we get back to a sane president, whatever that might look like, right? Well, they'll realize, oh, now you can take this person's word for it. No, this damage is permanent, right? And this
why?
Threats are permanent. Of course they are. Why would
why?
The question is like, what does the damage entail? Because ultimately, even if they lose trust, even though if they become more autonomous, like how they've been, becoming much more independent regarding their own military, for example, and much more willing to trade with our enemies like China. Like right now, the favorability to China is more than the U.S. with some of our allies. Like, sure, but I do think we can return to a point, even though it's not going to be where it was, where we regain general trust over China, and people still trust people still take our word seriously once we get a normal presidency.
But
the point is, we're gonna not return to where we are, but we're still gonna return to the number one hegemony in the world.
Well, we are.
Yep.
For how long? Wait, hold on. All of this is signs of a dying empire. What are you talking about? Well, the number one hegemony, right?
Cicero and Cato predicted the fall of the empire 300 years before it happened. Okay, and they were saying all the same things that we're saying now. The young people don't work, and the old people aren't respected, and nobody's having sex anymore, and nobody's studying the classics, and this, that, the other. And they said that shit 300 years before the Western Roman Empire got fucking sacked. So if you're off by 300 years, it kind of feels like you're bitching about shit before it falls apart.
Hold on. You're misunderstanding me, right? I said dying empire. I didn't say dead empire, right? Unfortunately, the U.S. in its dying breaths will do a lot more fucking damage, right? That doesn't mean that the aircraft carriers that Admiral Gibbs is talking about disappear, right? Go nowhere. That doesn't mean that we can't launch additional wars afterwards. So I didn't say anything like that. No,
we got another 1,000 years left. We'll be fine.
Prime, can you hear me?
Go ahead, yes.
Just a question. So, sure. I wasn't too aware of what specific. I still don't know the full. I didn't listen to the full speech.
I don't think anyone knows.
Fair enough. Yeah. So I'm just looking at like what we're doing with Iran, and what's been threatened. Just AI summaries, basically. And I fail to see, first of all, a lot of the same things were threatened under Biden and sometimes implemented against financial institutions that are doing business with Russia. This is a stronger threat but there's been no actions. Like there's been no secondary sanctions, and even if there are some secondary sanctions, like that are more targeted, you think this is like empire killing?
Friend. So again, like according to Scott, again, straight out of his mouth, and I'm sure you can find the transcript of his remarks somewhere. But in any case, straight out of his mouth, he says, "No, we haven't done anything yet." Right? Specifically, that's what I just said.
Mhm.
We have not done anything because I'm not in a hurry to blow up the global economic system. He understands the consequences of this, right?
Sure.
He's Scott Bissett is like I dislike the man. He's a disgusting cretin, right? But he's not stupid. This is an intelligent human being, right?
Okay.
This idea did not come out of his brain. There's only a few more guesses as to who might have suggested some nonsense like this, but in any case, right? He's clearly smart enough not to do that. So when I say that, like economic how it would break us, right? One, let me game this out, right? There's multiple possibilities here. One, the world simply ignores us, as all of you are suggesting, right? That the world just ignores us. Well, it shows, and it ignores us, and then we don't do anything about it. The second part, right? It shows that the U.S. once again is a paper tiger. The U.S. can't beat a regional foreign power like Iran. The U.S. Got embarrassed in Afghanistan. The U.S. has gotten embarrassed in multiple places. And so, why should we listen to them? Right? It weakens us in the world standing, like altogether. Like the U.S. is not to be taken seriously when it does this. It's just like it loses its mind every so often.
Well, Brian, what are you worried about then? What are you worried about then? Let's just blow this popsicle stand. If we're paper tiger, let's just crash the entire system and see what happens. Who's got the guns?
I think
fine. Like let's just blow it all up then. Let's just
everybody in the world.
Who do you think's gonna be who do you think's gonna be coming for us then? Like who? If it's not us, then who? You think the rest of the world? If we blow the economy up, the entire world.
It's not going to happen.
I know it's not, but hypothetically,
nobody's.
What are they going to do? They ain't going to do shit.
Here's the possibility. Here's the only possibility, and here's what other powers are going to be predicting. The U.S. is going to increase sanctions and possibly sanction some actors, some banks, some commerce, some companies that are associated with trade with Iran, and they're going to ramp that up over time. In the same way that we do any kind of sanctions against any country. And the countries are going to be afraid of this, and they're going to try to shift more trade away from Iran. That's what's going to happen. There's going to be some economic fallout from this.
I'll get back to that in a second. Before then, let me just I need to get a baseline from you, Lactoid, right? Do you think that operating this way, assuming I know you haven't looked into everything, right? So just like working off what I've said, right? Assuming Prime isn't just being in hysterics, but like this is what Scott Bissett came out of his mouth, right? But assuming my transcript of him is correct, do you think this is a healthy or intelligent way to operate on the global stage?
I generally oppose like a ridiculous hyperbolic language.
Okay, right. So not just a hyperbolic language, but attacking our allies. So like this is a direct attack on our allies. So I'll explain exactly what I mean.
Explain how it's a direct attack on our allies.
South Korea. South Korea is a great example. Okay. South Korea imports a lot of Iranian oil, right? They do it on the sly, but we all know, right? Everyone, people who are on the know, right? Okay. They get a lot of Iranian oil, right? And I imagine Pakistan does too. There's probably a whole list of countries, but a lot in the Southeast Asia, right?
Yeah.
So now we're threatening our ally, South Korea, which we already betrayed. Trump has already directly betrayed by taking away the defenses and saying, "Oh yeah, we have to worry about our relationship with North Korea rather than to you." Right, so we directly.
I saw that letter. That's not why he pulled the exercises.
He So we'll go back to that in a second. If you also pulled the THAAD missiles and the defense system there, right, to protect Israel, that's the thing that happened. So we've been directly.
Who's also our ally for the record. Also
our greatest ally.
Our greatest ally. So we
Go
are
ahead.
showing our commitment.
Really funny. Really funny. So yeah. So if we're saying to South Korea, who we've always known have been going around U.S. sanctions there, right? That we created. Sorry,
that country.
That you created South Korea. Yep. I mean, sure, whatever. That's immaterial here.
Okay.
Well, it should be our 51st state or something. So it is.
No, stop. Gibbs. Go ahead.
That part, you'll find some agreement with me, Gibbs. Right? Him and I, we're 1-on-1 on that one.
Okay. Wow. I wasn't expecting that.
Why not? I don't know.
Oh, is this like a weeb thing, or like what's the weeb equivalent of South Korea? It's like
like if you already conquered the shit, you own it. Why are we gonna give it back?
I don't even know. I don't even know what that means.
We already own it.
The weeb thing. There's probably some like Americans that are like, oh, we should like Japan should be part of America too, because then I can have like direct imports from fucking Anime Con or whatever the.
Yeah, Japan should be part of America. We own that shit too. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
maybe we should. I don't know.
We should own all these places. We gave them all back, and look, now you'll argue if they're our allies or not. See, they could have just been America, Germany,
it could have been just America.
Do you not think that it's like a little bit of like betrayal if we're going to have an ally of ours that depends on us for their very existence, buying the products that our direct enemy is selling?
Buying
that we are at war with, essentially. I mean, if we're being honest. They're buying their products. Like that doesn't seem very ally-ish.
Wait a minute. No.
Wait. We want oil.
No.
We want everybody's oil on the market.
I love this. I love this from the crowd, right? Who always tries to lecture me about, your countries have to act in their own self-interest, right? That's what they have to do.
And their self-interest is making us happy.
No,
it literally it is.
They have more than. Sorry, they have. More
they have their own
there,
people. To be
right?
fair,
we are.
They do, but their own people would be under the rule of Kim Jong-un if it wasn't for us.
Wow.
Understood, but
it's.
I kind of get where Prime is coming from in the sense that obviously oil is an important energy source for the people, and I think there was like a country before that had an energy crisis because of their not being able to get enough oil into their country, and right now we have a current
the
oil
US
crisis in America. We're running very low, so there is
we
a
run out
concern
in
for countries not to get enough.
No,
oil
you're not hearing what I'm saying. Like, imagine if South Korea, instead of importing oil that was like enriching the Iranians and continuing their ability to fight, what if they were selling them missiles? And like the South Koreans had been like selling them these missiles, and they were dependent on the profits of selling them these missiles.
I agree.
I agree. It's like that. Mike is a more extreme example, but I think the concept is the same, which is this is the commodity that Iran is using to fight us.
But they're not. I disagree with the basic of the framing. The United States, whether we say it or not, we want Iran to sell oil. Like we put up sanctions, but we want them to go around. We act because it actually still benefits the global market price of oil. There's not enough oil going around in general. The U.S. is
but even the point that like South Korea is currently sanction busting. I mean, I just checked out like a Google AI thing. I guess I could dig into it deeper, but I'm not seeing that South Korea is currently number one. Iran's number one. Iran like oil importer or some shit.
Iranian oil. I didn't say they were number one.
Yeah, and so if we
number one.
Sure, so they're taking Iranian oil. If we have this new policy of like, look, guys, we tried to do it this way. Shit, it cost a whole bunch. They're tougher than we thought. They're using this money to fight us, and they're doing a better job than we thought. Hey, friends, this stops now. I think a good ally, especially one that depends on us for their existence, probably should go along with our grand strategy. I think that's fine.
Why? For a war that they didn't want to be a part of, that no one on the planet.
How many of us did we lose in Korea?
Hold on. I got something.
I want someone to disagree with what I said.
You know what? Iran is basically funding their own destruction.
It's actually better for us to Iran not to sell oil. Why? How is that?
100% right.
Because because I'm just not. Yeah, you have to like. This is a strange claim that we actually want the South Koreans, or I guess which country are you saying that we want
anyone? We want as much oil to go out as we can.
Listen, I'm asking like right now, I guess, with this new strategy of sanctioning people who buy Iranian oil that Prime Kais is talking about, you're telling me that we're implementing this, but at the same time we are continuing some kind of hypocritical policy of like pushing for the oil shipping? I'm confused as to what you think our current strategy is.
No, I'm talking about there's the adults in the room, and then there's people that are like just trying stuff. This isn't an administration that's on the same page.
U.S. economic
I'm saying that like the reality is the U.S. is always known outside of sanctions. We know the same thing about Russia. Like we like even when we put up sanctions, like we're talking about like other types of domestic products, but we're okay with oil getting out because we like
hold on, that's not even true. We've been sanctioning Russian oil. We've been funding the attacks on Russian oil refineries, and we only made a few exceptions during critical oil shocks because of the Iranian war, and those exceptions have since lapsed, and the world has seen a oil price increase as a direct result of our sanctions on Russia and our funding of Ukraine and their attacks on oil refineries. We're okay with that, obviously.
There's Iranian oil tankers that come out with an Iranian flag, but Iran's always selling oil. Like they're just selling it on the black market.
This doesn't seem to affect what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we hold on. We have this policy which is just demonstrably true, where we have been limiting and highly restricting the kind of oil that Russia can both produce and Russia can export. This is the case. I also am assuming that our embargo and our blockade of Iran has reduced the amount of oil that Iran can ship, which has resulted in oil shocks around the world and Asia. I'm confused as to why you're saying that we're somehow being hypocritical or being, when it comes to us telling our allies stop buying Iranian oil.
Because you're framing this from the assumption that you're dealing with a competent administration. You're saying that like, oh, the entire I'm not even trying to like. I'm saying that I'm not. I promise I'm not. You're baking in the assumption that the Trump administration has any consistent plan that they're implementing on a day-to-day basis towards some larger goal, and they're just not. They're like there's conflicting interests. Stephen Miller.
Let me say one more thing before you go.
No, Stephen Miller. Like when I tell you who has completely different aspects of how they want to go with this war, J.D. Vance would handle this completely different. Stephen Miller would handle this completely different. Jared Kushner, who's not even a part of the administration, would handle this completely different. And Marco Rubio, all are in Trump's ear, telling him 4 completely different strategies, and he's implementing all 4 of them at the same time in different ways. It's a reason why, like we came out and we said that. I'm gonna give examples. I'm not just gonna say something and not back it up with examples. It's the reason why we come out day one day and say that like, oh, they're on the ropes. We're we won't negotiate at all. We're fighting them to the last man, and then we can come out the next day and say and make a terrible deal related to it, and then part of the administration comes out and has to justify it, and then 2 days later say that we actually didn't want to make a deal in the first place. None of this is consistent. And it's not because one person that they're changing their mind in real time. There's actually 4 separate plans of people that are going on simultaneously among the administration. It's just true. And they send out a vocal speaker for whichever idea you want to get that day.
Yeah. So this is the thing that makes me roll my eyes often when it happens, and the thing that frustrates me when people do this, where it seems as though when somebody will say something about that Trump is doing or the Trump administration is doing, and then like I take a step back and I look at the veracity and say like, okay, is this what's actually happening here? Is this really new? Is this really catastrophic? Like initially it's always catastrophized. Like this is fucking crazy. Can you see what Trump is doing? And then you look at it and you're like, well, I don't know. Like this actually seems to be somewhat in line with like traditional U.S. policy. This doesn't seem to be like actually all that crazy. We actually do sanction the fuck out of oil producers. We sanction the fuck out of Russia. Biden was sanctioning the fuck out of Russia. There were sanctions less so, but there were some sanctions put on under both Obama and Trump 1. There's on an oil producer. This is shit that's happening, and it's like, okay, well then, is it really crazy for us to when we're looking at Iran to take actions that are going to reduce their oil flow? Of course, it's not crazy at all. Of course, we're going to do that. We've done it already. We've blockaded that country. It's led to oil shocks. The idea of us asking South Korea or other purchasers of Iranian oil to not buy their oil as some like strange kind of catastrophe or some kind of schizophrenic policy, I think is just wrong. But then there's always just like, it feels like there's this fallback of like, but Trump just did it bad, right? Yes, Maduro, he was bad. We should have got him. But it was Trump that did it. Therefore, it's stupid. And Trump's just an idiot. I mean, look what a buffoon. What a dork.
Said that. I feel like
No, you did though, because I was literally I specifically refuted this concept of us being like in favor of allowing the Iranian oil to flow when in fact we're restricting it. And then the idea is like, well, Trump's just not competent. I think that I'm not in favor of this war, but I think that you are like dramatically misstating here, like how insane, like whether it's insane for us to restrict South Korean purchases.
Is an interest. Every administration has an interest in oil flowing throughout the Middle East.
Generally, but we're willing to circumvent that interest when it comes to other things, like we have with Russia and Iran.
But even when we have sanctions up, I'm saying that they still have an interest of a backdoor for the oil flowing.
But we also have an interest in not funding Iranian missiles, which is why the South Koreans should play ball.
Well, hold on. What's really interesting here is y'all keep doing this thing. Watch this. Okay, watch this. So, interestingly, I don't know if y'all are aware, South Korea and Israel have a very close defense contract industry, and they're basing their new South Korean Iron Dome system off the Israeli one. Now, well, I guess Prime is happy to say is that he wants that cheap Iranian oil to keep flowing in to support Israel's war effort against Iran, basically by this logic. Is that what you're saying, Prime? Because this is the kind of like mathematical double speak you're doing here.
Sorry,
so South Korea, they're getting their missile tech from Israeli tech companies that are going to help implement their new South Korean Iron Dome, which is going to fund them. So this oil is going to go up. Some of that oil is going to help transport them. So by your logic, you want the Iranians to keep getting. No, you want them to keep getting cheap. No.
They're going to burn the gas to fund Israel.
Prime. They're burning gas. So Iran is funding their own assets.
In the most technical of senses, correct.
Exactly. So I just think it's funny because
you're technically correct. The best kind of correct.
The best kind of correct. My point here is you can do any kind of loopy-loop when you talk about illegal trade. Well, hey, the cartels are anti-communist, and these cartels are anti-communist, so we should let the drugs flow for those guys, but these are not anti-communist. That's the same kind of logic. You can come up with any kind of logic for anything at any point. So what's your point here?
Any kind of logic for anything, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You have an interconnected world, right? With infinite number of butterflies.
So yes, let's let the fucking Iranian drug smugglers go.
And not only are we connected in the present, we're also connected to the past, right? And so if I ever support anyone who's German, hey, do I support the Nazis? I mean,
I don't fucking know. Those are not the same sort of situation we're talking about.
I'm supporting the Nazis' children. Maybe I'm supporting the Nazis. I don't know. Like, it's crazy.
That's not remotely.
What if we just bought the Nazis oil?
Yeah, what if we just bought their oil
for our own people? We have to fund our own people. Let's just buy some of their oil. What's wrong with that, Prime?
Yeah. What if they make the cheapest widget, bro?
What about that?
They make good rockets. We got to get
40 days. The global oil reserves run out completely. You'll have a conversation.
Yeah, probably.
But also, you just mentioned something else important. You said
that's not the same thing.
You said, what was his name? No, I can't think of the guy's name.
But that's what we're doing. That's what we're on track
he's going to crash
this
system.
Why are you acting like
we're on track to run out of oil?
Hold on. This is my point earlier, though. That y'all I kind of glossed over because I thought it was oil reserves. But hold on.
Left before they're empty.
So what was his name? Was it Miller that said it? I don't want to crash it. The threat being, I don't want to do it, but I will. Scott was specific. Okay, yeah. The threat being there with that statement is, I don't want to do it, but we can do it because we're the ones who got our own oil. We can probably survive with that, y'all. We got the military. So if y'all want to play, hold on. If you want to, hold on. Oh well, that's my point. Is we could do that. We don't want to do that, but if y'all want to play economic chicken, y'all are the ones who are going to get fucked worse than us. It might suck for us. Yeah. Well, what do you think's going to happen if we do that?
Yeah. Interest rates are going to go sky high.
And then what's going to happen?
Buy your debt, right? They can't buy bonds. We'll have
their economy's going to crash.
When we have less buyers of our debt, we're going to have to charge far higher in interest rates to get people to buy the debt. That's a problem for you. And that's a problem for me. Right?
Yeah,
you always care about
what if we just say we're not going to honor that system?
Like what happens to you, right? Yeah, like the interest
do you understand what I'm saying, right? I don't think you're getting what I'm saying.
Criminally low. The reason why they are so low.
I understand all of what you're saying. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is this. He says I don't want to do that. We're going to be the ones who are going to survive because there's going to have to be some sort of new economic system worldwide if that happens. Right? It's going to crash the world system. It's going to be the economic crisis that the world's ever seen. We're the one who's got all the weapons. Now, he doesn't want to do that, but he's saying, y'all better start playing ball and some things going to change around here. And you're going, he wants this thing when it's really more like, don't make us do this thing.
You just assume,
there's other alternatives that are better.
Sure.
It's called negotiation.
Guns, right? That things
it's not just guns. We have other things. That's not
what will we have, right? When people aren't buying our debt, when we can't fund our massive military expenditures, which we'll need, right, to survive in the world that you're painting.
Don't worry, Prime. It's not going to happen. Scott Bessent is just doing what Trump. Hold on. All right, hold on. I've been listening to this silliness for a while. Trump is a dipshit, and he just says shit. And so he started the war in Iran, and he wants people to back him up. And he's noticing that a lot of people are not backing him up. So he goes to Scott Bessent and he says, throw America's dick around so we can get more allies on this war. And so Scott went and did that, knowing full well that most people were not going to take this seriously. A substantial amount of like Trump's political clout is going to be evaporated in November. The Iranians are openly talking about how part of their calculations are making it through the midterm, so Trump is a lame duck. They're also talking about how even the Republican Party doesn't want to back Donald Trump through a third term. So
you're
as
saying
a result,
the Iranians are
they just want to fuck him for the next 2 years.
I heard it here, boys.
Wait. That's an interesting kind of. There's an implication for what you just said. The Iranians are counting on Democrats winning the midterms, is what you're saying.
Boys, y'all hit it here first. Lord and Lord.
Just like they've always said. Fox News.
It's on CNN. What do you want from me?
I mean, shouldn't that be like, it's one of those things where it's like, wow, the worst people are like really hoping this side wins.
No, they aren't. No.
Oh, sorry. Besides Israel, of course. Sorry, my bad.
I was actually thinking about the
Factoid, are we pretending for even 10 seconds that this war was popular, well thought out, the logistics were done correctly, there was an exit plan? Like what are we talking about here?
I have been
the same as any other administration.
I've been critical of this war, but here's the problem. It like I just said, got finished saying, it feels as though the problem that I have to deal with when I'm talking to people is just this sort of like sky is falling, this catastrophizing, and just this constant demeaning and belittling all actions at all points of the administration. Do I think it was unwise for the U.S. to follow Israel into this conflict in Iran? I do think it was unwise. I don't like it. I think a lot of our geopolitical decisions over the past 10 years have been unwise. I talk about that a lot. Does that mean that, the reason this happens, the reason why we're threatening South Korea, the reason why we got pissed at Britain, all that is just Trump, being petulant and, throwing his dick around? Or is there, some real, underlying kind of real grievance of, bro, we literally can, for South Korea, you exist because of us. Taiwan, you exist because of us. The UK, we subsidize, you're, I guess, less bad than others, but we still, you live under our security umbrella, the rest of NATO.
Prime's the only person that I'm seeing forwarding the allegation that South Korea is currently buying sanctioned Iranian oil. I've Googled it 3 times. I haven't been able to find a single thing about it.
Okay, I'm just, whether that's true or not, whether that's true or not.
Be right back.
Sure.
This bitch right here, I swear to God,
He
took the momentum. I was addressing him. Fucking bitch. All right. Well, I don't know what to say now. It's fucking.
I mean,
Iran's getting these hands. That's what you got to say now. That they're getting what they deserve.
Just here. Here's what I'll finish by saying this.
Good.
Just America is not this empire on the verge of collapse. We're doing okay. Median income continues to climb. Overall life expectancy, medical access to certain medical care, new innovations, the shit's happening. We'll be.
In fact, we're doing better.
I know you really don't like Trump.
Lato, I don't necessarily hate what you're saying, and I understand the aspect of your allies kind of buying in. I understand all of that. I guess my biggest concern in regards to this is not necessarily the strategy of sanctions, but it's more so the overall implementation and the end result. Because this war, you already talked about it. And then we I don't know, a couple months ago, there was a ceasefire deal that heavily favored Iran. You admitted it. We all admitted it heavily favored Iran.
And then we didn't implement it.
And we didn't implement it. And Iran was like,
good.
No, that's not enough. We want more. So in this situation, where we have a circumstance where there's no end in the foreseeable future, it's very clear that Trump wants Iran to capitulate, and he implements this plan of sanctions, and nothing's happened. We're still at this status quo. The only thing that's going to be ruined is the international market and the U.S. and the reserves of oil.
Hold
So
on,
it's just going to keep on getting
Riddell.
worse and worse and worse and worse.
Hold on,
I guess
Riddell.
that is the
Trump is
biggest
playing nice with
concern
Iran, right?
regarding the plan, not necessarily sanctions.
If
but
we
the
were
end
Russia,
result.
if we were Russia, Riddell, if we were Russia, right, what would we be doing to Iran right now? They're bombing power plants, they're bombing water supplies, they're bombing apartment buildings. We're over here using fucking machete missiles to kill people half the time. I think that we're playing nice. What if we decide, okay, Iran, we want you to capitulate. We bomb every desal plant they have tomorrow. Guess what? I guarantee you in a week and a half, the people are either going to start killing them or they're going to surrender. That's how you fucking solve the problem. We're playing. No, it's not a war crime. They're already doing this all over the place. It's listen. It's not a war crime if they can't convict you.
So do you agree with?
Wait, what would you just say? It's not a war crime if what?
If they can't convict you,
all the water.
You got to be convicted.
Oh my god! All right. See,
all right.
I can't do that.
Okay, I mean,
okay,
like we should destroy all of their water supplies.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Look, I know it sucks. We're in it. I don't know what you went from me. We're in it, and right now people are buying shit from Iran, and they're spending that money on missiles, and we're in it. Like they're not accepting us. We're not accepting the peace. We're trying to be like, hey, fuck off. We're sorry or whatever the fuck, and they're just not buying it. So what? What do we do?
No, okay, so you actually come to a negotiated settlement. Well, and number one, I fucked up your momentum. But the reason why I left was because my old fat dog, he's 13 years old. He's like 40 pounds and he should be 30. And he can't jump off of furniture anymore. So he whines for me to come pick him up and get him off. So I had to go.
I'll give you a pass. I'll give you a pass.
Thank you. Now, but here's the thing is that the truth is the Strait of Hormuz is so narrow that there's really only 2 countries that can control that strait militarily without fucking shit up. And we just have to concede that, like, there's 2 options here. Military invasion and regime change a la Iraq. That's one option. The other option is coming to some kind of negotiated settlement with the Iranians for control of Strait of Hormuz, where they get to charge a toll. That's it. Those are the 2 options.
He's completely correct. Or you do give and annihilate.
So you hold on. You would just hold on. To be clear, Connor, would you accept that? Would you accept not just the toll, because that wasn't the only thing they were asking for. They're also asking for a shit ton of money. They're asking for a bunch of
not all of it. You obviously negotiated.
But that was the negotiation. Like that was the negotiated thing. That's the
no. What's going on right now? What's going on right now is Trump set up that MOU deal that had like $300 billion from Gulf states for like rebuilding. It had partial control of the Iranians over the strait. I'm pretty sure Oman and Iran actually negotiated their own version of a deal where the Omanis are like taxing shit on the way in and Iran is taxing shit on the way out, which by the way, it just is what it is. So really, like the choice is accept that deal or Iraq style invasion. So right now we're doing the worst of both worlds where we're not accepting the deal, but we're also not doing the invasion. So we have 20% of the world's oil shut off.
Can you answer this question? This is not a criticism of anybody here.
I will try to answer your question directly.
And this is not even like an attack. This is a genuine just question for the panel. My understanding is almost all quite literally almost all of the oil coming from the Strait of Hormuz goes to other countries. It's usually like in Southeast Asia. Why is this our problem? Why don't they
now
invade
they're buying oil from us. They're buying oil from us. Our percentage of oil market's going way up. So this is a net positive really in the long run.
Because my earnest answer is because off of a cursory search, 90% of Iran's oil goes to China. We obviously buy a shitload of goods from China. Petroleum is obviously used in a shitload of goods. So any goods that we're consuming from China are going up as a result due to the inputs.
It's going to hurt us. I get it. It's going to hurt us. But what I'm really trying to emphasize though is why is this? It seems like it's on us. Like not even Israel wants to get involved in that sense.
Because we decapitated their entire government.
Yeah, but they're punishing the people that didn't. They're third parties and they're the ones getting smacked. Why don't they step in too? What the fuck?
Because nobody else has the military capacity or the balls to do so.
You're telling me Pakistan and India, they couldn't get involved? They got nukes. What the fuck? They can get involved.
What are they going to do with nukes against Iran?
No, not using the nukes. But they're big enough and capable enough to build nukes. Why can't they send in a few troops? What the fuck?
Yeah, India's got like 2 billion people.
Because we broke it. They don't want to buy what we broke.
But they're not. They're punishing somebody who had nothing to do with it.
Let's get Bam a
What do you
chance.
mean? What do you mean they're punishing somebody who has nothing to do with it?
Let me elaborate real quick for Connor. We fucked with them. We came in and blew up their shit, and their response is like, "Okay, well, fuck you, India. We're not gonna, we're gonna close Strait of Hormuz so you can't get your oil, and fuck you, Pakistan, and fuck you, China, and fuck the people who didn't do it, who are gonna suffer the most, more than America. They're gonna suffer the most and have suffered the most from these oil shocks, more so than America has by far, and they're just sitting and taking it, waiting for us to fix it. Why don't they fix it if they're the ones getting hurt most by it? Because serious question."
Because the Chinese, the Pakistanis, and the Indians don't have a history of exporting their militaries overseas for conflicts. That's what would be required. And additionally, the Gulf states don't want a Persian Arab war. If there was an open Persian Arab war similar to Iraq, the Iraq-Iran war, they were fucking missiling. You're talking about what we're doing right now. They were blowing up commercial oil tankers in that strait, but it was setting the strait on fire for months during the Iran-Iraq war. So the fucking Saudis don't want that shit. The Iraqis don't want that shit. Nobody wants that shit.
Well, hold on. If they're blowing
Wouldn't
up
a full
all the
invasion
oil
by
tankers,
us result in that too?
But hold on. If we're blowing up all the oil tankers, and we're producing more oil than ever, wouldn't that mean more oil sales for us, and we win in the long run? If the whole
technically, yes.
No,
I know you don't care about human life, Gibbs, but it would be fine if you weren't so glib about it.
Can we understand?
Would it be?
You should be called Admiral Glib.
Guys, can we understand that oil production isn't like a monolith, right? We get that, right? I mean,
yes.
Wait, just let me do it, Prime. Let me say it.
No, I thought it was a monolith.
Because
I don't say it.
Okay, if you know it, then go ahead.
I'm fucking with you.
Yeah. So what I'm attempting to say is, again, Lactoid, the libertarian laissez-faire capitalists is acting like they don't understand how capitalism works on this scale. The reality is, we can't. The oil exists not on a U.S. market, but on a global market. Just because we produce oil doesn't mean we set the price for oil. So it's saying that like, oh, sure, it'll hurt us, but like we can make our own. Like let's say oil, it'll go up a little bit. We'll make we can't say, oh, U.S. oil is going to be $90 a barrel, because if we exist in a system where private companies are going to sell to the highest bidders, if we have oil that's $90 a barrel, then the other countries that don't have access to oil are going to be willing to buy that oil at a higher price than $90 per barrel. Which means, therefore, the price is necessarily going to go up because it is in the market.
Yeah.
Unless you don't want to do capitalism anymore.
Stop. I get it.
Economy and say you can't.
No, but we do this with oil. I understand there's going to be some pain, and there has been pain in the U.S. markets from the oil shocks. But we have been more insulated than pain in the sense of like economic pain. But we have been much more insulated from that pain compared to markets like India.
We're talking about $300 per barrel. We haven't seen anything close to it.
I was about to say, where's the strategic oil reserve at right now? Yeah, Admiral Gibbs' shit is rubbing his goddamn hands, but you're gonna be real fucking pissed when you're spending $10 a fucking gallon at the local pump.
Yeah, I understand it. I just looked at that, by the way. We're not in this 40-day thing. That's not true. We have more oil than just a strategic oil reserve, and also the strategic oil reserve is not 40 days away from
about to run out.
Yeah. Well, we have more reserves.
You got
just that one
Politics
reserve.
JK in the waiting room if you want him.
Sorry, who is this person?
I don't know who that is.
He's just a Twitch and YouTube political debate guy.
Okay.
He's a liberal. He wants to yell at Gibbs.
Okay.
Disgusting.
Okay, but like a guy, like
but waste of
that's
breath,
fine.
but
But
good
like,
luck.
you should just like okay this with me beforehand. I don't.
You can say no too. I would just try him out sometime.
You gotta just this is an open panel, but like that's fine. But if counterpoints, if you're saying he's good, then it's okay.
I don't know. This will be like the second time I've talked to him.
Oh, okay. That's fantastic. Good to know. All right. Well,
he just pops up and it's
kick him if he sucks.
He pops up and it's just a dick, just fully right there on the screen.
Yeah. So
completely demonetized.
Politics JK person, if you'd like to come on, it's fine. On counterpoints to say so, right? Specific.
Yeah, you're not allowed to say the N-word.
All clothes on your body.
Oh, so much for freedom of speech.
Also,
Anyway,
but hold on.
I was
busy responding to this.
I just want to speak to why do you say that it's not really our. Well, I didn't say like, oh, it's not really our problem. Like it would be everybody's problem.
Right. So hold on. Whoa.
Or
That
Marcus
Oh,
demanded
God.
much.
Sorry, you're
Batman's the
coming
worst
in and
enemy.
out.
Are you anti-markets?
You're coming in and out a little bit,
Am I going
Bam,
out?
but we heard most of what you
You're
said.
kinda
If
lying,
you want to
brother.
reset that
Wait,
router,
wait,
that'd
wait.
be fantastic.
Isn't it?
But
still
now
bad?
we can hear you.
again,
But
brother.
Okay.
Okay. I'm trying to add as many caveats and nuances to it fully encompass what you're saying. Okay. To be clear, I understand that there's economic pain associated with any kind of restrictions on oil. We felt that.
Gibbs ran
We
away.
felt the restrictions on oil that happened when we put sanctions on Russia. There's economic inflationary effects, there's all this bad shit. The question is, how poised is America to insulate itself from those effects compared to other countries and compared to the interests that they have? And the reality is, empirically, we're a lot better at handling this because of our own oil production compared to countries like India that have suffered, largest country in the planet by population, that have suffered the most. And so my question is, if we're at like a fraction of the suffering, and these other countries that are suffering by magnitudes greater than we are, Iran has basically just cut them off for no reason. They didn't do anything. Why don't they do something?
But doesn't that kind of coincide with Prime's initial point? Because if we follow your logic, which I somewhat agree with, that you're our allies, this is our enemy,
or even are not our allies.
No, to a certain extent, of course, we gotta kind of play ball. But if they are playing ball and they're getting fucked over from it because we are able to hold our own more so, then that kind of coincides with what Prime says earlier. We're just ruining our own international standing.
But
and our own
that plays into what
Yeah,
I said.
but we're doing all of it. That's my point. Like, I would agree with you that if we were just like we came in, fucked shit up, and then we just left and like, oh, bye completely, other countries would probably have some more of a basis. But the reality is that like when Iran fires missiles at the Arab countries, when Iran cuts off oil to India, which had nothing to do with our strikes on Iran, if I was like the Indian government, I'd be pissed as fuck at Iran. Fuck you. What did we ever do to you? It's not our fault the Americans did that.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure we're the ones who are blocking the Strait of Hormuz right now. I mean, I'll Google it real quick to see if Iran specifically said they're no longer selling oil to India, but I'm pretty sure they would sell their oil to anybody as long as they were willing to pay them.
We're blocking.
They were blocking the Arab oil. They were blocking the oil from Qatar and Bahrain. That's what they were doing.
That's in response to us. Of course they're mad
right.
at us. If none of this ever happened, if we didn't go in there, they're still getting their oil. They're mad at us. You're literally asking them to come in and clean up our mess.
Let me put it in this way. Let's say I walk up. It's a bar fight. Here, let's say it's a bar fight. I walk up to you and then I punch you, and the guy's like rubbing his face, and then he looks over at this girl that's just standing there doing nothing, and then he punches her.
It's not really like that. It's more like all the friends that you're friends with that you're helping, that are friends with you. They're punishing our friends because they can't hit us.
How did India help us?
We're blocking the oil. How are they getting the? I thought we had a blockade. How are they getting oil to them anyway?
No, we were blockading Iranian oil, but before we were doing that wasn't during the whole time. The Iranians were blockading a Qatari and Bahrainian oil from getting to India.
Yeah. I did just Google this in order to make sure that I understood what Lactoid was saying. The Gulf states were primarily providing the oil to India, but since we're not letting Iranian oil out, Iran is not letting Persian Gulf oil out, which is fucking over India.
No, they were doing that first. They cut off the oil coming from the Gulf states.
Yeah, when they blocked off the
and then we came in, and as a retaliation to that, cut off Iranian oil exports.
So no. What happened first is that America and Israel
did the decapitation strike happen first?
That happened.
Yes. And if they were cutting off the trade just to us, well, then that's all fair.
Hold on.
Whatever.
You understand this? Don't pretend you don't understand this, right?
Hold on. They cut off trade. Hold on.
Why? We're like world policemen. That's what this is. I understand.
Cut off the trade before.
These Indians need to start pulling their weight.
This is literally. Hold on. Stop. This is literally economic warfare. This is another level of economic warfare. Just like the U.S. is trying to do economic warfare against Iran. Iran is doing it against us as well, right?
No, not just us.
Yes, I know that
All
to
right.
it. I know that to it.
They're just
No,
collateral,
no,
right?
no,
It's okay
actually,
for
back
them
to
to
it.
fight the
No,
whole world,
actually,
but
yes.
Trump does
Hold
it.
on, wait.
Yes.
They're just collateral.
when Trump does it.
Okay.
When
Yeah.
The
Trump
people
does the same
suffering the
thing.
most
They're
are just collateral.
Yeah,
Sure.
hold on. No,
Okay.
they understand this, right? This is part of putting economic pressure on the
Oh.
United States, economic and political
Kind of the way Trump
pressure
did
on
with the
United
worldwide
States,
tariffs.
where the world has a big fucking, where the world is not behind this. They were behind it in the start, right? They didn't support the fighting Iran.
Well, Israel
right?
did.
But then when it came to hurting them, they especially
Our
weren't in
greatest
favor
ally.
of it. Yes,
greatest ally.
that's obviously what they're doing. You're like, why is this happening? I can't get it.
I'm not. Stop. Don't, straw man. I'm not saying. I'm not like asking why is this happening. What my initial point
thought
was
you were
like,
gonna say
it
that.
seems to me that like all of this falls on us, despite the fact that they are swinging at countries that had nothing to do with this, and they are just hurting because of Iranian decisions.
Because it
If
does
I
fall
was
on us. We
them,
attacked
if I
first.
we again,
Well,
they
no,
didn't
that's not
though.
true. They did attack first. How many times?
No, they
has
didn't.
Iran-
Let any
Hold
of
on,
our
hold
No,
on,
they
allies
didn't.
hold on.
Stop
do
trying to
it.
Hold
rewrite
on.
history. No, they
Hold on.
didn't.
No,
Here
we
we
don't
go.
rewrite
We told
history.
our
Iran-
allies we
How
don't need
many
them.
times? Hey, you just said this, Prime. You were mad. I've heard many times in this panel how mad y'all were when Trump came in and put the worldwide tariffs on, right? How many times has Iran cut off oil through the strait? It's a known tactic. They threaten it. They do it all the time. They affect economic prices worldwide for decades. They've done this.
They've never
They
done it.
When's
do
the
it
last
all.
time they blocked? When's the last time
All
they
the
cut
time.
it off?
All the time they do.
When's the last time?
Hold on. Before we get there, I can tell you this: they threaten it all the time, and it affects prices. They have the ability. They built the Navy to do it. We know this. Do I know off the top of my head last time? I have no idea. Probably last time Israel popped up. But here's the thing: we know that they use this as a threat all the time. Okay, cool. One. Two, I'm sitting here going, hearing all what you're saying. I want to point out something that Lactoid said here. Lactoid saying all these people, right? They're not even involved. And y'all's response was they don't have expeditionary militaries. They can't do it like we can, yada, yada. Well, okay, if they're suffering economically now, just under Lactoid's system, right here, what y'all all agreed to, and then you agreed they don't have expeditionary militaries. What do you think's going to happen when Scott Bennison or whatever is saying, hey, motherfuckers, the world economy is going to crash if you don't play ball with Papa? And guess what? These people are hearing what Lactoid's saying, and they're agreeing because they're going, holy shit, imagine if they really play hardball. We're totally fucked. We won't be able to feed people. There will be fucking a mass unrest. Every government will topple, and the only one left standing is going to be us. And
That's
like,
a risk.
But
I mean, you want that? I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Right, Gibbs.
I'm not in support of this. I'm just saying.
You're in support of Iran being able to make those threats, right?
Yeah, and I'm in support of us doing the same thing.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, good.
But it could be a serious threat, too.
Okay, then we can understand if we do the same thing then. Okay, great. So then,
good, I understand it.
Then that's fine.
So,
then.
yeah,
Right,
you can't complain. The point is that this is like
the exact same thing. Good.
It's a continuation of what Lacto is saying. So
that's not an attack, though. But hold on. That's not an attack. That's not an attack. That's not an attack.
Warfare.
Right?
You just said
that means to do something. It's not an attack.
Oh, but you said it is when Trump does it, though.
Hold on. No, I didn't.
Many times.
No, I didn't. Hold on. I said that
you were just complaining about the bluster, alienating allies.
Yeah, hold on. Yes, I do have a problem with bluster, alienating allies.
Oh,
that's
so Iran does
different. No, hold on. Gibbs, stop trying to shift the goalposts constantly, right? I need you actually to follow a single thread.
I'm following
it. Tie different things together, right?
They're tied together.
Conversation.
Intimately.
No, excuse me. Hold on.
Double knotted.
These are all separate threads, right? All separate threads. So,
triple knotted, bro. Whatever. We can light it on fire. You have to break it out. It's like Alexander's knot.
Gibbs, please. I got to respond to this. You're just like tying things together, right? They're separate threads. One thread, right, is Trump. Yes, I have a problem. I think it's disastrous that Trump is making these empty threats because of its consequences to America, right? Now, is that a big problem for my political goals? Actually, it's not, right? This helps dismantle American imperialism.
You sure act like
that's fine, right? No. Because I'm like stunned by his stupidity, right? There's always more ways that Trump stuns me with his utter stupidity, right? So that's what you were sensing.
Yeah, but if this was actually your political goal, you would overlook that.
Stop, Black.
All right.
So that's a threat, right? Separately from that is the U.S. unprovoked attacks against Iran that slaughtered a bunch of their civilians. Yeah, I got a big fucking that's something I have a big fucking problem with. I'll always have a problem with that. Yeah, that's a separate thing, right?
Yeah,
and then separately from that is Iran making a threat, right, about closing the Strait of Hormuz. Hey, should you go around threatening people? I guess I don't want them to do that.
Our boats?
Why would I want Iran to do that? Why would I want Iran to close the Strait of Hormuz at all? I don't want them to do that. But they did that in response to the attack, which I also have a problem with. These things are separate threads. Let's not pretend otherwise. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying we've been at war with them since their revolution. So, I mean, I don't think the war ever stopped.
Here, what if we attack them and their response was to like fire a missile at like New Delhi? What would your thoughts be on that?
Well, they did hit a bunch of countries who are U.S. bases when we did.
You're right. They did.
That's their tactic. Is if you're friends with us, we're going to attack you because we can't get to them directly.
Even if those people didn't do, but like to me, this seems I think this is quite literally a war crime.
Is your question whether I
group
think
responsibility?
that Iranians are good people? The IRGC is good people? Is that
no? I'm not asking you. I'm not asking you that because it's very easy. It's very easy to it's very easy to retreat to like, well, they're bad or whatever. But I'm going beyond just asking you if they're bad. I'm saying like, do their actions give rise to justify other powers stepping in and getting involved? And if so, I think they do. And if so, this idea, which I think you agree with, that like the U.S. is the world's policeman and we have to pay for the security umbrella for these different countries.
Do I agree with?
What? No. That I agree with you that it's bad. That like.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
To finish the thought, this idea that we have the security umbrella that all these other countries live under is, to me, somewhat outdated. Like everyone keeps talking about alienating our allies. Have you when you look at the wealth transfer through the security apparatus that we provide to these countries? I'm sure they are very happy with us. We pay for their shit. We bomb places when they want us to.
Yes.
Who wouldn't be happy about that?
But okay, but here's the thing. Because of the international American security blanket, if you actually look at like 2/3 of the world's trade, it's arguably done under the security blanket. What has effectively happened is the vast majority of those people either can't, won't, don't want to pick a variable. They don't have the capacity to do foreign war. They just don't. They have the ability to piggyback with us when we do expeditionary warfare, but they don't have a blue water navy. They don't have amphibious warfare. They don't have, ballistic missile programs. They don't have aircraft carriers. They don't have any of this shit. Matter of fact, one of the things that was most interesting about the Signalgate controversy was JD Vance was basically shit-talking the Europeans because while he wanted them to be more active in the Red Sea crisis, they literally did not have the military capacity to do so.
And they never will if they don't have to. At some point, the training wheels
sure,
have to come
but
off.
how much economic pain are you willing to tolerate while you're waiting for the Europeans to get their shit together, which, by the way, is going to be never.
Some amount. Hold on. If they have to, if we pull out all of our assets out of NATO, and we pull out our shit from Europe, and now they have to cover that shit. They will rise to the occasion because there's no other option.
Sure, which is going to involve a Russian reconsolidation of the former Soviet Empire. Like all of Eastern Europe is going to fall before that time.
I don't understand why.
Hold on. Just to be clear, then. So the solution here is just never.
Yes, preventing World War III is an ongoing expense.
Yeah. Reconstituting the Soviet Union. Sorry, I think that's insane. But even if this threat is true, what it feels to me then is we have a bunch of fucking lazy freeloaders that are using this threat, this threat that is absurd, but saying that it's a threat, to be able to consistently leech off of our security umbrella for time immemorial.
But hold on. They are not just leeching off of our security umbrella. They're being economically productive in such a way that benefits the entire planet.
Yes, but disproportionately them compared to us if we have to pay for it.
They're all pussies. Well, and also
I get it.
It also
does benefit you.
No, it does benefit you. You can buy French champagne. You can buy fucking Ukrainian caviar. You can buy Taiwanese microchips. You can buy South Korean microchips. You can buy Israeli microchips. You can buy all of these goods and services that are produced under the security umbrella.
Yeah, look, South Korea, I do think they should be more grateful, and same with Taiwan. But I will accept that, like, regardless of whatever they want to put into their own shit, little chance those countries are actually going to be able to stand up against a country like China. But when you look at the the rest of NATO, not us, and you look at Europe, we're talking about multiple times, like 3 times the population of Russia, much larger percentage of GDP, overall much higher percentage of like tech companies, of military tech, all these things that exist within this country, within this alliance of countries. And yet, what do? We still can't get Spain on board to pay 2%. Germany hasn't even gotten there. Like, yeah, there's a few countries. Thank you, Estonia. You're doing great, buddy.
Yeah, I was about to say the only reason why Eastern Europe isn't going to fall is because the Eastern Europeans have actually taken huge steps to make a robust defense industry complex.
Right. So we got the Democrats wanting what was it? The Iranians want the Democrats to win. Now we have champagne and caviar.
Champagne. Where are we going to get our champagne or caviar unless we pay for their missiles? No, I don't know.
It's not paying for their missiles. It's basically projecting international security. And by the way, don't you think that an actual land war in Eurasia is infinitely more expensive than maintaining the peace?
I mean, if we're talking about an infinite time horizon, by definition, no.
Okay, but obviously, the whole point of World War I and World War II was that America was isolationist prior to World War I. Then we got sucked into World War I anyways. And then prior to World War II, we tried to be isolationist and we got sucked in there anyways.
And now we're the babysitter for time immemorial.
Power abhors a vacuum. So your options are small wars that kill substantially less people in order to maintain the hegemony, or it's big wars after we withdraw.
Or small wars where we conquer new shit each time.
I do not
Gibbs, unfortunately, you are like the mean position of the position I actually hold, which is frustrating.
Well, I mean,
right.
So it's here. Let me phrase my argument then against the alliance here. The alliance here between Gibbs and Connor, who have the same position, to be clear. Connor, I think that it's. I'm triggering. Yeah, it's okay. I think this idea that because we got involved in World War II, this means that we signed up to be an infinite babysitter for countries that are exceedingly rich, that are first world countries that on a collective level, even individually in some cases, when you look at the UK and Germany, outpower the whatever Eurasian kind of powers that exist in Russia. Outpower that by a significant margin, that we still have to babysit them because they refuse to even meet their 2% obligation, and we have to do this, and we have to do this forever. Otherwise, we lose access to our champagne and caviar.
Babysitting it, like, come on, and you understand this, Lactoid, right? Like, counterpoints was saying is completely cogent, right? He understands that, like, I mean, he gave the worst examples of the caviar and whatnot, right? But I hear you, friend, right? That like. This undergirds the global trade system. This undergirds.
You call yourself an anti-imperialist.
I am.
He understands what I'm saying. And by the way, your 2% talking point is outdated.
Yeah.
Not for Spain.
So hold on. Lithuania. Hold on. So right now, all 32 NATO member states meet or exceed the historic 2% GDP defense spending target, with top spenders allocating over 5%.
Except
Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, Poland, and Greece are all contributing between 3.65 and 5.33%. But the United States, or Germany, is doing 2.69. The UK is doing 2.56. France is doing 2.2. Italy and Portugal are doing 2.10, and Belgium is doing 2.
That's the one that Trump wins.
Spain at it too?
Well, I mean, I'll Google it, but it said all 32 nations.
So if that's the case,
also, like,
then they should be able to defend themselves. They hit the 2%.
Then
it's a fucking defense pact. It's a mutual defense pact
between all of these countries that are wealthier than Russia.
No. This is the dumbest thing you've ever said in front of me, which is fucking flabbergasting. Okay, so Politics JK and I have a mutual defense pact. We have a mutual defense pact, okay? And I tell Politics JK, you need to start lifting weights or Lactoid's going to beat the shit out of you. And then fucking Politics JK starts eating protein and lifting fucking weights, and he gets up to 185 pounds, and I say, hey, you got this, bitch. Good luck. And then I fucking dip out. And then 3 seconds later, you walk up and punch fucking Politics JK in the fucking face. Because the whole reason why you're not jumping us in the first place is between me and Politics JK weighing 160 fucking pounds, we can both beat the fuck out of you. But the second that I leave, because he's fit, doesn't mean he should fight alone.
So this is the part that I'm understanding. If this is the case, that every NATO country besides the U.S. is meeting their 2% obligation, they're actually meeting their military contribution, and we know for a fact then that this alliance of European countries, because it's not just like a 2-person thing, it is all the different European countries and then also us. If they are meeting their obligation and they're paying this money for their military, then they should be competent enough to provide security to Europe.
Can I respond to that?
They are providing security to Europe.
So, no, without us. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
That's not the Strait of Hormuz.
They're not.
That's not the Strait of
How does
Hormuz.
the Strait of Hormuz
isn't in Europe?
How does this
understand.
apply to the
Let's-
Iran war?
Sure, this was in direct response to the whole new Soviet Union thing. This Strait of Hormuz, I agree, is like a different question because we're not talking about the European countries like contributing to their own defense here. I'm more like was responding to this idea of like, well, unless we babysit the vast majority of our alliance, then like the Russians are going to move in and take over all of Europe. When it simply is the case that the rest of Europe, without us, like has overwhelming advantages over Russia, and if they're meeting their 2% now, which I was unaware of, if they're all meeting their 2% now, then they should clearly be able to hold their own without us having any assets there.
I'm gonna give Politics JK a chance because he hasn't gotten that. Then
Okay.
we'll go to Bam Riddell. Okay.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Overall, I
Okay,
think you guys
okay,
are looking
okay.
at this. Overall, I think you guys are looking at this in a vacuum with just the oil and the war. We're also making everybody mad with trade deals left and right. Like we don't have friends left. You're talking about South Korea. Why wouldn't they sell sanctioned oils? We're pulling back our military help from them right now and being super friendly with North Korea. Why wouldn't they do whatever why wouldn't they go against us? And then Lactoid, you're talking about if we just pull out, there's going to be a vacuum. And you know who's going to move in there? China and Russia. And yeah, they might not take over Western Europe right away or start a war, but their influence is going to grow while ours shrinks. If you want to let Chinese influence grow, I mean, that's a free vacuum for them to say, hey, we'll help you out. We'll patrol those waterways. And I don't know why you would just cede that to China.
We have to pay for all their shit, otherwise China's going to start paying for all their shit.
We're paying for all this shit anyways.
Do you know what
they have no oil?
Do you know what the roads and bridges are?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think here's the problem. I think that Europe, as a entity, the EU, has enough power to be a locus of power. It's not necessarily dependent on the US and it's not necessarily dependent on China for overall global influence. It is like, especially when you start looking at like the major centers, like a locus of international power in of itself. The reason why they have been able to, and I guess now it's changing under US pressure because we are reorienting towards the Pacific where our power actually is needed. But the reason why for so long they've been able to freeload off of us is because they were able to. And it would have been stupid not to. Now, if we look at the Middle East, I would agree that this is, I guess, a different calculus because I don't think that these countries necessarily have the same kind of regional power that Iran does. But again, this simply goes back to, I guess, the broader question of why do we not leave some of this for countries like Pakistan, for country who's a major non-NATO ally, for countries like India, who's not even a NATO ally at all, but still is being suffering from these Iranian trade restrictions on these Gulf states? Why isn't the expectation on these great powers to get involved? These are nuclear powers.
Every time we leave a region of the planet, hundreds of thousands of human beings get slaughtered.
Well,
Why would they?
Okay, so we gotta bomb it so that they don't bomb it, so that fewer people die.
Well,
yes,
I mean,
literally, that's the explanation for the former Yugoslavia, Lactoid. You're fucking putting your fingers up like this. But yes, literally. Hold on. I want to explain this because I literally learned a new factoid about the former fucking Yugoslav conflict. We did. You know how some of you motherfuckers, you want to do like stop arms shipments to Israel in order to stop the violence in Israel? We literally did that in the former Yugoslavia. We told the Croats, the Serbs, and the fucking Bosniaks that we are not shipping weapons anymore to your conflict because we do not want to be participants in your ethnocides. And you know what ended up happening? The Serbs, because they were the most powerful faction, said, well, no American support is coming in, so we're just going to wipe out the Muslim Bosniaks. And then they started committing a genocide. It only took us actually attacking the Serbs to get the Serbs stop the largest genocide on the European continent since World War II. So when you say, oh, hold on, I'm not done yet, thank you. When you say, oh, you're saying that in order to stop the bombing, we have to bomb some people, and then you hold your fucking fingers up to your forehead like you're having a migraine? Yes, that is literally descriptively true.
I mean,
let me respond to this.
So
outside of that,
no,
don't
okay.
respond to that.
This was directed to me, motherfucker. This was directed to me.
Specifically, I don't care. I don't care. You've said too much. Doesn't make you talk. This is literally we literally exist on.
Get a better internet. You can talk more. What the fuck?
In a global hegemon. Yeah. Is my internet still bad? I don't know.
Yes, but it's bad every time.
But we can still understand you for those parts. So just keep going. Keep going.
Okay, whatever. I'm just gonna keep going. On a global hegemonic scale, like we're doing the. I'm not even gonna call it the Trump strategy. We're doing the like isolation strategy that we believe if we just walk away from stuff, then it somehow just disappears and goes away. And nothing else about the world changes. So if we decide to like, oh, we've had enough fun here, we try to Forrest Gump the situation and say, I'm going home now. Then what Politics JK said was absolutely right. Then other countries are going to end up stepping in. When the reason we talk about like, other countries are meeting their NATO military fund goals, the 2% goals. Like, yeah, sure, the 2% is fine, but we keep that number low for an absolute reason. The United States would be pissed if they heard that the EU started building up their military in a way that was in any way comparable or comparable to the United States. We actually do enjoy being the global police, whether you feel some type of way about it or not. It's the reason why it's our biggest, one of the biggest portion of our discretionary budget.
I feel some kind of way about this.
It does create global outreach. It is the only reason that the United States can work the way that it works. If you end up saying that like, oh, okay, we're gonna walk away from the world, we're gonna walk away from issues when we feel like they're no longer interesting us, and no negative outcomes are gonna happen. Like you just throwing yourself a dream because you're not thinking about the long term. You're just thinking about this one issue. There's a child's way.
I'm thinking about
you have to balance the economy. You have to balance the military. You have to balance the influence.
I am thinking about the economy. I am thinking about the economy in the long term. I'm thinking about things in the long term. I'm not thinking about like just stop right now. What I'm saying, yeah, there are certain situations where, by the way, the Europeans were also involved in the Yugoslav bombings, despite the fact, also somewhat controversially, that we did that without UN approval in violation of international law. But that's a whole different conversation. I can agree. There are certain circumstances in which, like, I'm not saying we never get involved. I just got done saying I do not think that there are comparable strong powers that could defend Taiwan, or that there are comparable strong powers that could defend South Korea. I've already accepted that. And so those are countries that I do think probably need some kind of security umbrella for the time being. But what I'm not convinced about is that other large powers that could intervene, that could get involved, especially countries that got us involved, like Israel. The idea that they just get to take a step back and wash their hands of it and not get involved and leave it to us, I think reveals how countries, including Israel, but the general idea of how countries think about us, which is despite the fact that it's affecting us, despite the fact that maybe even we started it, despite the fact that we have been involved in it, Daddy America will take care of it with their tax dollars.
Everyone on the world stage is a pussy, and it would take them half a decade to a decade to build up the military power capable in order to help us in the way that we would actually need help. And by the way, anyone who dealt with the war on terror would be able to tell this to you, because all the European forces that deployed alongside us were reliant on American logistics in order to function.
They got to. I'm sorry. They got to fix Israel. Like at some point.
And they're working on it right
wishes
now.
that Iran will respond.
Riddell and Admiral Gibbs, but like literally, like that's what Europe is doing. Europe is doing a military buildup as we speak right now.
Yeah,
so you're getting your wish.
It's a little better.
Riddell,
about fucking time.
Yeah, I mean,
the United States will be worse off for it.
You wrapped up your point with something that I was very curious about, because we went from like talking about the Iran war to the pivot of like NATO in general. It seems like you're dissatisfied, and it's very clear you're just outlining your dissatisfaction with like the rest of the countries.
This was in response to something that Connor said, but yeah,
I know. I understand. I'm not attacking you. The point is though, if at the end of the day, since you kind of understand the Iran war, our involvement kind of kickstarted it, doesn't kind of coincide with your core belief that our issue, and then Israel I actually agree with, but our issue, Israel's issue, and getting involved in the Iran war, is this something that we chose to get involved with, we chose to do, it's affecting everybody, and then the response from everybody around them is to kind of protect their own. Doesn't that kind of coincide with that level of like autonomy that you want from these countries in the first place?
Here's I take one issue with the part of the way you phrase the sentence. You phrase the sentence in a way to remove all autonomy from Iran. You phrase the sentence where we did this thing, and then the response happens and then other people are affected. No, we did a thing, and then Iran lashed out against everybody else. And so the question, like, are the leaders in Iran just mindless zealots, just mindless drones? I mean, you could argue they're zealots, but are they mindless? Are they not able to function in some kind of geopolitical understanding?
No, they see the international security and economic framework that the United States operates under.
And that's their only leverage.
And
so why are you
push them into a
confused?
corner?
I'm not confused.
I'm not
Why are you acting confused?
Maybe what you're perceiving as confusion is frustration that that there's this expectation on us, and the expectation is never on anybody else, including countries like Israel that literally got us into it.
See, I was actually skeptical.
The expectations on us from actions that we commit, right?
No, there is Israel
actions that Iran does.
Israel to be, well, I wouldn't say.
I'm not talking about our action. Why did you bring it right back to Iran? Because
there's countries being hurt that had nothing to do with that initial. Okay, I punched the guy at the bar. The guy at the bar punches the girl. I punched the guy at the bar. The guy at the bar punches the girl. Did the girl do anything to deserve the punch? Should the guy get
that's my girlfriend.
Well,
but the core premise,
they're punching your girlfriend to piss you off.
Of course,
India's not our girlfriend.
Yes, they are.
India's our girlfriend.
Speaking country that we trade with, and they trade with our allies, the Persian Gulf states. Yes, they are.
So the world is our girlfriend.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
2/3 of the world is easily our girlfriend.
He's almost right. You're almost right. They're not our girlfriend.
Well, then we're a fucking whore, and we need to stop.
We
kind of are whore.
Specifically. Okay,
what you
specifically?
Latoy.
We talk about like, Israel isn't responding in the way that we would like them to. Like, Israel's not bluffing. The reason that Iran, when they're striking out, they're not actually striking Israel because Israel's asking them to give them a reason, and Israel's not going to do what we're doing. Israel probably would bomb Kargil.
They've fired missiles at Israel.
Not recently. Not in any significant scale. Been launching at all the other bases and things. Israel has said a number of times like, if Iran were to give Israel a reason, they're gonna go like all out essentially. Israel's in a different space.
Well,
they actually are willing to do stuff that the United States will do, and I don't think
they've fired missiles.
They're not.
Hold on. They fired missiles in Israel in August.
Israel.
Yeah, 30 ballistic missiles in Tel Aviv.
Sorry, what point are we making now?
Well, I would like to make a point.
Our friend Gibbs has been waiting quite a while.
Well, Riddell, are you done?
Oh, are you not done?
Well, the biggest thing for me is I just want to, because I understand your Iran point, but the core element is understanding that the person that's going to stop this is the U.S., right? We got involved. We're going to stop it. You would agree, Latoid?
This is the whole expectation that I'm criticizing. Yeah.
For something we started?
I don't know.
He's just saying it affects everybody else. So why doesn't everybody else pitch in? But we've already answered him like 6 times, which is effectively
and I keep
they're pussies. Hold on. I'm going to answer this in 3 parts. I hope you hear me.
You've answered. Yeah.
Number 1.
They're pussies in
the whole world is our girlfriend, and you're mad that America gets bitches. Number 2. Number 2. They're pussies and they don't know how to fight. Number 3. Even if we wanted to teach our women how to fight, it would take them 5 to 10 years to learn how to fight. So your complaining is kind of moot.
Also, no. One more thing. No, I got to tack one more thing on. They will never learn to fight unless they are forced to.
So but do you want your bitches to know how to fight? Because then they're just going to claw all your other bitches' eyes out.
No, I want my bitches to learn how to fight. If they're European,
but then they're going to fight each other because they're going to be fighting over you.
If they're European bitches or Indian bitches, I'm okay with
that. The reason why I'm trying to leverage
maybe not Saudi bitches, but
the reason why I'm trying to leverage responsibility and have like a clear answer personally is because right when we kind of talk about the U.S.'s role, and if you want them to have these countries to be more independent in terms of their own actions, and if we're talking about the U.S. in particular in this particular circumstance where they're the core responsible member, and then we're consistently doing things that is ruining everybody else's current autonomy and their current status, then ultimately you're asking for, or you're kind of coinciding with the idea that America moving forward will consistently lose leverage, lose our relationships, lose our power on the world stage because of our own actions. But you're not putting, but because of our
want to be bitchless,
and you're not.
You want to be bitchless, Tom?
You're not holding them responsible for that core element.
I'm not bald.
You think everything is just going to go away, and that's just not
no.
Well,
so hold on. I gotta make a reference real quick. Y'all have seen the Boondocks, right?
For sure.
Bitch dependency is no laughing matter, Lactoid.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you.
But it's a problem, though, isn't it?
No. I just want one more answer from Lactoid. If regardless of what you feel about it, we started the conflict. No, I need an answer. I need an answer.
I've answered it like 8 times. Connor has the answer. Connor understands.
No. I don't want that answer. I want to answer my question.
You want a different answer.
Yes.
you want an answer that agrees with you.
Oh, that would be nice. That would be nice, to be honest.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Let me hear the question
again.
again.
What they do, and of course you can have your issues with the rest of their countries. You know, we've litigated that multiple times. But I want to see how much you hold America accountable in this equation. America does what they do. Everybody's not getting involved. They want this war to be over. They do the sanctions. Internationally, it gets worse and worse, as well as our relationships get worse and worse, to the point where what Prime says, we lose a lot of leverage in our overall authority over the world. How much onus and blame do you put in that Trump, their strategy, and what we're doing right now? Like, how much onus do you put them individually? That's what I want answered.
Oh.
Onus on Trump compared to like my perception of other countries because they're not acting?
Don't let them
Well, their onus on them and what they're doing and the overall result that will ruin America's capacity to obviously have leverage over the rest of the world.
Okay. So these percentages are not set in stone.
That's fine.
I'm kind of spitballing here. I could be argued kind of to move pretty dramatically on these percentages, but just like off the top of my dome, I'd probably put responsibility for the Iranian war and all of its fallout. I'd probably put like 40% on Israel, 30% on Trump, and 30% of all the other countries surrounding. They're not doing anything. That's what I'd do.
Oh. And I think that's the core disagreement. But at least I got my answer, so I'm good.
So, let's go to Gibbs.
Yeah, so I actually think the bitches analogy is a perfect analogy to what I want to say. Right? First, this idea that we have like a bunch of girlfriends. Well, the worst thing you can do if you're a man that's got a lot of bitches is have too many girlfriends. Because you've promoted them to something. You've no longer become a player. You become a simp. And you are a bitch yourself, right? So the real secret here is you got to demote some of these people like concubines or fucking fuck buddies or fucking throw them on down the chain. And then that makes them compete. All right. And so guess what? That's exactly what's happening at the world stage. Because guess what? Sex mirrors and dynamics mirrors world politics. Crazy enough. Can't figure out why that might be. But here we go. So Lactoid said something interesting, and I kind of disagree with him a little bit, but I think it's going to open up more possibilities. He said, why would NATO want to do this or the Europe could team up together? I don't even want that to happen, boys. What I want to happen is I want us to make
annex the whole world.
I will. Even before that, you got to take baby. Okay. Counterpoints was right about one thing. Small wars are easier than one big war. So what you want to do is we want to go team up with Poland, who wants to go into Russia and fight them in perpetuity. Poland's now like the Texas of Europe. They got a huge military. They just were looking for a reason to fight. The Baltic states, maybe fund some of that aggression and let the old empires of France, who I think is now out of all their contracts in Africa, which leads me to Africa. Why don't we just twat them with Rwanda? They're fucking ready to take over. They've already took over all the military contracts.
See what happens, Connor. See what you do.
Do alliances, brothers. And so
I'm going to make it worse.
We demote people like India, who were really never our bitch. They were like our side bitch, if anything. And now we're going to sit here and demote them further. Say, hey, you know what? If you want to come get a taste of daddy, you got to pay a tax. It's time for men's rights now. And daddy's home. It's time for you to pay what we're worth, kings. We are the big dick on the block. And so guess what? We're going to go do that to them too. And I'm just saying, I think it's a perfect analogy. We've had too many girlfriends. It's time to get some whores. And I'm just saying, it's time trying to make him a whore. That's the best part. Because y'all are right. They don't have the power to do nothing. We have all the power. We own the economic system. It's just the facts, and y'all don't gotta like it, but it's true. So when John Innocent says, I don't want to do this, he means I could do this, and y'all are gonna suffer real bad. And guess what? It's gonna be not so good for us, but we're gonna maybe not have our French caviar and champagne, but we're gonna be able to have day-to-day food, and you won't. And like,
Admiral Gibbs is a poet, and I won't hear otherwise.
I'm
right?
just
The
saying.
man has way of words. Let's go to our friend Politics JK, and then if Poetic Alchemist wants to say something, that's fine. We can move on to our main topic after that. But yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out Connor did miss something or implied it in his metaphor there. Those bitches have to get elected, right? So if all of Spain is against them going into the war, they're not going to go in the war for us if they know they're going to lose their job. And all of the people do not want to be in this war. So you make it seem like it's this really thing that they just don't want to. They just want to see us fail. Or they should help us because it's going to hurt them. If their voters demanded they go in because it was hurting them, they would. But until that happens, they're not going to because they need to keep their job like anyone else.
They're only going to do it when it actually hurts them to not. I completely.
Well, it's hurting them now.
Yeah. Yeah. But what that means to Lactoid is like, oh, let's make it hurt, and so
let's make it hurt unless they do it. Yes.
Yeah.
This is how on a realist lens. From a realist lens, this is how you compel countries to do things. Like you have to look at their self-interest, and you have to play with that.
This is what Iran was doing. Yeah, we get that. Yeah.
No, I understand.
We just did it better.
The reason why
that's what makes this current situation so
there
bad.
Was one. So the counterpoints. We'll go to Poek in a second. Counterpoints. He made some good points as to why other countries.
He made some good counterpoints.
But the what he missed, right, is that like they have domestic reasons as to why not to be involved, right? Like if this is an unpopular war. It doesn't matter if you, let's say, like South Korea was like teched out, right? Had the carriers, could defend themselves completely from North Korea. Like, would they still want to commit that, right? To burn billions and fucking the Strait of Hormuz for a dumbass mistake that we made? Why would they want to do that? What was the calculation there?
Prime.
There is no calculation. Sorry.
There is a calculation, and I will bet you there is a sufficient amount of oil reduction that will compel a country like India to get involved directly.
Well, we also have
I don't know what it is.
We have the TRIPS deal, the Strait of Malacca deal. Like these are things around this. Like, I mean, they're already taking steps to solve this problem.
Hold on, wait a minute. Again, like who is causing the pain though? Right? Because Iran, because people like they don't understand the phrase "close the Strait of Hormuz." Right? They don't understand this phrase. A lot of people. Like when I say
like a door,
when Gibbs say it, and other people say, they're all saying different things because they don't understand what's happening. This Iran is not trying to.
What we mean decapitations
Iran wants the oil to flow, right, along with the spice. They want it to flow, right? But now they've said, like, because that you've attacked us, right, we are going to institute this as a point of leverage. And so, if it's going to flow, we're going to get a advantage of it. We're going to get a piece of this, right? You got to get taxed. Plenty of the other countries were fine with this. Like, okay, all right. They literally were in the process of making those agreements, right? In Iran and Oman, we're are currently in the process of talking about some sort of stuff to put together, right? So they can run it in a joint process.
They were going to go
but
around.
It's not that like Iran is like, oh, I don't want nothing to flow. No, it can flow. The party that has a problem with that, right, is U.S. and Israel. That's why the U.S. is blocking this, right? That's why they put that blockade. So, like you're saying, hey, South Korea and them all should join the U.S., which is actually an all-word causing the problem. No, they're not going to do it. Why?
No, this is an interesting point. I'll look more into this particular point that all these countries would just accept the demand of an extra tax on the oil. My understanding, though, this wasn't.
I'm sure some of them would reject it, but yeah, some of them, yeah.
Well, the question is, would they reject it to the point of intervening militarily? That's the question.
Apparently,
to what extent would they, and would the Gulf countries do it, right? Because my understanding is the Gulf countries probably wouldn't be too happy at having to pay this tax on a sea that they are situated in, right? Bahrain is an island sitting within a sea, and now they're being
They may
charged
not have
tax
pay
to
the
ship
tax.
their
It
island.
might be the people just who are buying the oil. But I see what you're saying.
Right, but if they're buying the oil from Qatar and their buyer has to pay a tax, then this is going to affect the price of Qatar oil
Oh, you
or
understand
Bahrain oil.
tariffs.
I've been against tariffs the whole time. So yes, like this would be the effect. If you're saying that all other parties would just be totally bitch made to Iran, and none of them would actually nut up and take whatever actions to prevent
Which made
this.
to Egypt to go through the Suez Canal? Like what's whatever.
No, I think there's a huge difference between building a canal
Yeah,
through like a land
through
a country as opposed to this pre-existing
and there's
sea.
a difference between attacking a country and decapitating its leadership and not attacking a country and decapitating its leadership.
I agree. There is a difference.
We're already into that other scenario, and now
I agree that the difference. No, I agree that what you described, there is a difference between that as well. Yes.
Well,
so going back to what I was saying, the different things can be different, and I do think that like the Gulf states that depend almost entirely on oil, like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, these countries would be incredibly unhappy, and with the fact that Iran is leveraging this peace agreement to charge money on oil that's leaving that they didn't mine, that they didn't produce. I don't know what India would do. I don't know what Pakistan would do. I think the only way to really tell would be to like put them in that position. Which, if you're telling me that the only obstacle for them being put in that position is us, then I'm not convinced about that. I'll look into that. But if that's true, then I would oppose our policy on that.
What if I gave you a second reason why we're doing this? But before you left, other than the economic, what if I just told you it was a Thursday war, and we're just out here practicing trick shots? That's what. What if I told you? You know the expression Thursday war, so it's basically you go in there and you have a tune-up war, like I guess like not a mere power, right? But someone that's like got more power, like the third world. You go in there and you practice your shit because they have some of the new tech, and you go in there and just try out all your stuff. We get rid of your old weaponry. It's like a scrimmage.
You learn your
off-season scrimmage. You can code it in, and like they're a mountain fortress with a narrow strait, so we got some hard parameters. So we're just out here practicing. That's what we're doing.
Let's and hold on. So, we're not practicing. We're getting our ass kicked, right? The U.S. has gotten its ass kicked in the Middle East, and they're talking about
KD ratio.
The U.S. is trying.
KD ratio, really?
No, the KD ratio doesn't. Well, it
matters quite a bit.
Right? It matters to me, but no, in terms of like the war, the U.S.
is pulling back from these
bases in the Middle East because they can't defend them. Like 13 to 16 bases have been rendered inoperable.
Yeah,
right?
What are they called? Bases?
Because of the attacks. I can provide you sources on that, right?
Yeah, but I mean, what's the base really?
Okay, so the U.S. is pulling back, and they're in active discussions, right? This is just discussions, to be clear, right? But they're in active discussions of, hey, maybe we should massively reduce our footprint in the Middle East. Which, hey, wasn't that one of the demands of Iran and within the when the negotiations were starting? Everyone thought it was ridiculous.
Wait, so Trump was wanting to pull out of the Middle. Hold on, Trump wanted to pull out of the Middle East.
Of course,
and then he was following this isolation thing.
That's crazy.
That's what Iran wants.
He's following the Iran thing, right?
So it's
actually
bad either
Iran
way.
Just started bombing the shit out of these countries and of these bases, and then the U.S. hightailed it and ran. Right. The reason why the USS Lincoln isn't getting restocked is because Iran bombed and destroyed one of our logistics hubs, one of the bases of our logistics hub. And so because of that, we had to pull our logistics lines from hundreds of miles away to thousands of miles away. That's what's happening right now. So don't tell me that we're winning this war. We're getting our asses beat.
But we
can literally send the B-52s anytime we want it.
We're going to go to poetic because I just want to get poetic in here.
We cannot just class the country.
Thank you. You guys can hear me okay?
My boy, we could.
Yeah, we can.
Theoretically.
All right, awesome. So I agree with what Politics JK was kind of saying earlier a little bit and what Gibbs was saying. And I think that NATO is basically doomed to fall apart at this point. You saw Turkey made an agreement with Saudi Arabia the other week in a defensive pact. And Poland's clearly the strongest military, but Turkey's probably second strongest in NATO. I don't think Germany and France hold a wick to them at this point. And Spain is just like, I don't even know if they have an army at this point that could go somewhere. So like you're kind of starting to see the major players already make moves, and at this point, like NATO is just a falling apart relationship, and it's like, how long do you want to stick around in a relationship that's doomed to fail? Do you want to get out early with all your stuff, or do you want to hang around until she gives you an STD? You know. And so Trump's made some other interesting moves that also makes leaving NATO kind of promising right now. We captured Venezuela, which is a huge oil producer in South America, the largest one. And we got to take Cuba at some point because we can't let the communists continue to have a foothold down there. And if you negotiate part of leaving NATO as they give us Greenland, and we can take a clean sweep out here to protect our outskirts of our borders in America, and we can unify Central and North America into one solid trade agreement with the Panama Canal. It would be way more enticing and way better for American economics and politics than to ever stay in NATO could provide us going forward.
I told you.
How much Hearts of Iron 4 have you played?
No, dude, Gibbs is fucking jizzing right now.
This is some fucking stratego-ass fucking risk-ass fucking analysis. The chances of the worldview that you just proposed is a snowball's chance in hell.
I don't think so. The only
we can't let our infamy get too high.
America
That's the one problem with that strategy.
Because they want to be in BRICS because they want to sell their goods to somewhere other than America. And if we go to Brazil,
and I'm not worried about an economic alliance that includes Brazil and India. That like the second they included those two countries in a fucking economic alliance, it became a laughing stock.
Brazil is a very important strategic.
Fuck yeah! Brazil and India, get the fuck out of here.
Okay, so who threatens us in America?
We're talking about well over a billion people.
We can easily boss around.
Yeah, well over a billion people living in what kind of conditions, Lactoid?
Well over a billion people that have like one of the fastest economic growth rates of any country. Like,
because they're growing from shitholes. You understand Russia had the highest rate of change of any developing nation in the late 19th and early 20th century, because when you have a favorite rock and you get 2 rocks, you doubled your fucking GDP, right?
I get it. But when you have over a billion people, when you have 1.4 billion people that each have 2 rocks, that's a lot of fucking rocks.
Yeah, no shit, but we've evolved past rocks. We'll be fine.
They have
with the Indians
they have
collecting
nukes.
rocks.
They have more than just rocks. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm not worried. Okay, I'm not worried about BRICS. I don't think you should be worried about BRICS. I don't think any motherfucker on this thing should be worried about BRICS. What I think Alchemist should be worried about is that you played Risk when you were 13 and you saw
Victoria too.
The next, like the countries moving
up, has been the reserve currency for the entire world for a century.
Okay, Alchemist, you played Risk when you were a teenager and you based your geopolitical analysis off of the board game Risk, and that is not enough information for geopolitical analysis.
I have one more point to why I think coinciding back to America and away from NATO is valuable at this point too. Is also, if you look at our immigration policy, we have to do something about it. We cannot allow people to continue to immigrate here from everywhere. We're not going to stop
too many Hispanics.
We're not going to stop people from coming from Mexico and Central America.
That's what I was going to say. We have too many ginger Hispanics.
But we can partner with them. We can make better immigration policies with those countries because they're close to here. And then we can say, Europe, you guys are only welcome on tourist visas from now on, and we're not giving you any more We're not giving you any more status to just come here willy-nilly, free and clear, and bring all your Muslim immigrants over, because they're the biggest fucking problem we face. And if they're going to continue to come here, also, and
I don't even think we have that many Muslims coming in.
Oh my God, yes we do. And if Iran is going to block the strait and charge a toll, why can't the U.S. Navy just sit outside Somalia and charge a tax to come around the bottom?
Let's go. Before we go into this direction, let's let Politics JK get his last word in, and then let's consider moving to the main topic. All right.
I just want to know what world you guys all live in, where you think we can just like leave NATO and get Greenland out of the deal somehow, and also if we did that, we can't make a deal with Canada right now. How we're going to make a deal with all of North America and South America? Then plus the rest of the world's going to drop our bonds and our dollar. You're talking about our dollar collapsing. Do your plan and they'll all just drop all of our bonds and game over for our economy right there.
politics. There's 66,000 people in fucking Greenland.
We should bribe them.
We
I've
can
long
we
thought,
can just buy. We can buy them. We can give like $1 million each. Like,
$1 million
right,
each.
buy these. And if they don't like
Way
it,
less than we pay to NATO.
And if they don't like it, NATO can send their
True.
7 soldiers back over, and we can send our military and see which one wins, and we can take that shit from home. We can have that. I'm sorry. Fuck them.
But Gibbs, what if they say no? What if they say no?
But then we take that shit. Those 7 soldiers,
Oh,
man.
So then we gotta go to war.
Yeah, with 7 people.
Way easier to have a war at home than a war abroad.
Yeah, I mean, what are they going to do? What are they going to do?
Greenland's home?
The UK
Close enough.
crashed 2 of their boats.
I'm trying to make it home.
Can't even fucking say, like, well, Sir Francis Drake is well. Oh no, the UK is coming for us,
and we'll pay her for it.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yes, we're gonna go to
want
war
our
with
money?
NATO.
Let's-
That's
okay.
what I want to hear.
Let's okay.
So
All
big.
right. We've done it. Okay. So thanks for engaging with me on that topic at the start. Once again, this got a great group of individuals. We can argue about anything. And I like whenever I get counterpoints energized, right? Like I love it. Well, even
You're
if he's yelling
stuck
at me,
with me. You're stuck with me.
Yeah, I love an energized Connor. He's a lot of fun. Okay, but let's we got a topic which I'm really looking forward to, and we just before then, guys, if you've been enjoying this, right, this has been the preamble to the show. If you enjoyed all of that, consider following the channel. Right, on Twitch, YouTube, Kick, right? Prime Kai, PRIMECEYS. Consider following the channel. We do this every Monday, and we have some other streams happening too. So consider, being a part of the Reverie. Hit the follow button. We'd love to have you, and consider supporting the channel in a way that you can. You can sub on Twitch, and you can consider using a super chat, yes, on YouTube. We read your super chats, and like if you've been here before, we can go on long tangents about your super chats because it's interesting enough, right? So consider supporting the channel. That way allows us to do all this. So thank you very much. But let's jump into the actual topic for tonight. All right. This was written last week because we were supposed to do this last week, so if anything is out of date, I apologize. I didn't bother rewriting this, but whatever. Right this moment in Texas, a legal battle is taking place in a surrogacy dispute. The biological parents are fighting for full custody of their child after the surrogate fled to Texas, supposedly to avoid being forced to have an abortion. The child received a prenatal diagnosis of a rare and incurable heart disease. The biological parents, at one point at least, considered termination. This prompted the surrogate to flee to Texas to give birth while being shielded by the state's anti-abortion laws. The surrogate then attempted to become the child's legal guardian, which so far has been rejected by the courts. Again, this is last week. I haven't gotten an update. The child is currently with his biological parents. Which side do you agree with? Was the surrogate justified to take these actions after signing a contract that strips her of parental control? As Texas law supposedly suggests, since the surrogate gave birth to the baby, should she be considered the legal mother? Who should have guardianship of the child now? And should surrogacy be either banned or severely limited to avoid these kinds of legal messes in the future? Yeah, so crazy story out of Texas. This woman, surrogacy works off of like these agreements, right? And these agreements that are like poorly regulated, right? Like the case laws seems to be kind of like all over the place for this thing, and so she signs this contract, she agrees to these terms, and unfortunately the child that she's carrying is diagnosed with this incurable disease. And it's an expensive disease to treat. There are treatments, but like you can't cure it, and there is a high rate of mortality. And so at some point the biological parents were thinking, abort. I meant abort the mission, but like, okay, whatever. They considered termination, and this spooked this individual. Apparently her brother, like the surrogate's brother, was like, oh, you go to Texas and then I'll adopt the baby. I don't know where he comes in. I don't know how he manages to do this, but like that he gets control of the baby afterwards, craziness. But the point is, right, is that surrogacy puts us in these situations. If this is new to you, right, if you've never considered surrogacy before, then you might not have seen like the crazy legal battles that happen in surrogacy cases. It like flips over our intuitions about like, parenthood and legal responsibilities in so many weird and twisted ways. And so, yeah, I don't know. She gave birth to the baby. Hey, should she be a legal mother of the baby? Is that how it should count? Right? It counts that way in other cases, right? You're the legal mother, you give the birth to the baby. But that's not her genetic kid, obviously. And then also she supposedly had a clause in her contract that gave her parental control. Should that matter at all? I mean, should the surrogate ever get a chance of parental any sort of legal ownership of the child? Right? Like a lot of people say, well, that's crazy. So surrogacy puts us in these situations like when things go wrong. And when they go right, everything is fine, right? But there's so many ways that surrogacy, like all along the way, where people all of a sudden aren't on the same page, and then utter chaos ensues. So that's why I really want to investigate with all of you guys. So I'm going to go around with our opening statements. So if our friend Lactoid.
I have one question before we start.
No,
is
let me
the
go
couple?
first.
I thought the couple was a
like,
gay couple, not a male and a female. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct.
No,
I haven't.
I don't know.
To my understanding. Not to my understanding, but maybe I'm wrong. But I don't know where they got the egg, unless it's her egg. Then that complicates things again.
Yeah, then
that really complicates things. Yeah.
I think it's a heterosexual couple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I set the parameters of the conversation? I really want to go first.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to go first, that's fine.
I won that fucking. Go ahead.
Cool. Because I can't be first in my corner, but I do want to go. There's a lot of different aspects this conversation could go down. I'm gonna point out what I think the 2 to 3 biggest ones are, and hopefully the conversation ends up building around one of these. One is going to be one interesting aspect is how we feel about contract law in this situation. The contract state, like, so if there are segments in most surrogacy contracts that end up having sections related to abortion or terminating pregnancy, whatever you want to name it. Now, these clauses are legal to put into the contract, but they're not legally enforceable, meaning that you can have you can have statement on what you would want the surrogate to do, but the Supreme Court stated that you can't physically hold someone on the table and force them to undergo the procedure. Not at least not for an abortion. There's certain cases where you can force someone to undergo a procedure, but not related to an abortion. So that's one aspect. The second aspect is, okay, if you can't force her to do it, and if some people are arguing that if you can't force her to do it, then the contract itself is void. But the second aspect is going to be, okay, so are the biological parents entitled to damages? Since they had an agreement with someone, she didn't follow through with it for whatever reason, is she entitled to be paid now? The one argument would be yes, because you signed the contract. 2 would be no, because of the circumstances of pregnancy are considered different. They consider that unique to other services. I don't know if I can hear that argument. I've heard that argument, and I'm curious to hear if someone wants to make a case for that you can't entitle her to now like pay $250,000, whatever they're suing her for, or whatever they could have sued her for based on the fact that she went through with the pregnancy. And then the third and I think most interesting is what Prime, what you brought up, is parentage. This case involves, I think, 3 states: California, Alaska, and Texas. And she actually, where the birth determines, by their state law, determines motherhood by birth, but they're likely to see how we want to determine motherhood, if it's based on DNA or not. And if that is the case, who deserve or who's entitled to this baby, you can those
You're
biological
breaking up pretty
parents
hard
gave up
now.
those rights whenever they decided.
Bam, you have the worst internet I've
Okay.
ever seen in my life. I'm being honest.
Yeah, you're breaking up now. The last. Go ahead.
Okay, whatever. I said what I wanted to say. It's fine.
Okay. Maybe consider using your phone again. Let's go to our friend Lactoid.
Lactoid, you can find me on Lactoid TV and Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. I'll be honest with you. This is a tough question, and I think it's a tough question for everybody, because currently it's in litigation, and there's not a lot of clarity on what exactly is going to happen, because it is a pretty complicated situation that it really doesn't have a lot of analogies. So I'm not going to speak too much on what the law is in this specific situation, because I'll be honest with you, I just don't know. Where I do know the law, I'll talk about it, but I mean, it is a strange situation. So I'm going to try to talk more about, I guess, just what I love to talk about most, which is my opinions on things. I agree with Bam that I guess really I would put it as two main interesting questions. The parentage, I think, is an interesting question, and that's the one that I'm most torn on. Whether or not what goes into determination in a disputed parenting situation, who's actually the parent. And I think for me, it's probably going to be like a multi-factor analysis. Like part of it's going to be the genetics, part of it's going to be carrying the baby, part of it's going to be the expectation of who would be the parent, aka the contract, and also the well-being of the child, I think, is also something that would come into play as well. So all of those things I think are important to take a look at. But when it comes to the actual pregnancy, I think this is where there should be, maybe not on this panel, but amongst Americans, there should be universal agreement, right? Because you have somebody who fled to Texas to prevent the abortion, right? I'm going to go to a pro-life state. You can't do abortions here; it's considered murder, and it doesn't matter what a contract says. You can't murder. You can't do that against the law. Contracts cannot be against the law, to be clear. Okay, well then the pro-lifers like that because it's not an abortion. But the pro-choicers, who are all about women's body, say, hey, it's her body, her choice, right? Her body, her choice. Her. You've heard the chants, right? They should all also be in favor of this. No, we can't force a woman to have an abortion. That goes against her bodily autonomy. So there should be complete unity on this. All the pro-choicers and all the pro-lifers should be outraged that they try to get this woman to get an abortion. It should be entirely up to her to not get an abortion. And that's I guess an observation I'm making about the overall U.S. public. But my personal opinion on this is at 20 weeks, I don't think that you should be able to contract a kill clause into anything. That is generally against the law in areas which it's considered murder. You can't do that. And I'm in favor of those laws at a fetus who's at 20 weeks. So big fan of the idea of not killing children.
Okay. All right. Does that? Okay, I'm not gonna.
So you wouldn't say she's entitled to damages?
We'll get into.
No. That's not do questions yet. I was going to say an instigating comment to Lagwood, but I think I'll hold on to that one.
But yet you support Israel. Go ahead.
Exactly. Sorry.
I can read you like a book. I swear to God, I know you.
I'm pretty simplistic there. Let's go to our friend Riddell.
When in doubt, I do think it's based off different fact patterns, whether this is a complicated conversation or not, because there is he say, she say that is happening in this case. The parents have indicated that they've never tried to force her to do an abortion, but they said they did consider termination because of the health problems, and they said that the girl legally also agreed to the abortion, and then she changed her mind. So if that's the case of her changing her mind, then I'm like, I mean, you already said you would do it, especially when it comes down to the state you were in initially. Now, of course, it ended up going through, from my understanding, the Dallas judge has granted parental rights to the biological parents, not the woman. And now they're going to go through the pregnancy. The kid's going to live a life. And you can have questions on whether or not this is
birth. My understanding is that they've already given birth, but
Oh, then there you go. I mean, I know the judge also said that they have to do the life-saving surgery as well. So a couple of conversations regarding it. This is really not an abortion conversation because nobody's advocating for abortion. They agreed and then they disagreed, and then she changed her mind. Unless we can say that this should be legally bounding, whether or not you agreed or not. I guess that could be a conversation. Ultimately, I do think this is a situation of who's right, who said what first, what's going on there. That's kind of the crux of the conversation itself. And then obviously jurisdiction of someone's body. But I don't think anybody's going crazy. I'm talking about, hey, this is your body, who do an abortion. I don't think anybody's having those crazy unless they're fringe far lefties that I don't know about. But that's it.
Okay. Let's go to our friend Counterpoints.
Yeah, I think that Lactoid is correct that this is very straightforward from a pro-choice or pro-life standpoint. I actually think that the mother, we're going to have to like try to figure out the nomenclature of like biological parents versus surrogate or something like that. But the surrogate, the person who actually carried the child, I think we all know, or at least anybody who's been around pregnant women know, that like there is a hormone wash during the pregnancy period that is wildly intense, that effectively makes women like wildly protective of their potential child and of their child when they come to, and all of that kind of stuff. So as a result, like I'm with them 100% of the time. And the only thing that I think would alter my calculation is effectively like biological contribution from the parents. But even then, I still think since they were trying to terminate the pregnancy, it should still be with the surrogate mother. Like the child should still be with the surrogate mother, but then maybe they would be entitled to the health care costs that they absorbed through the course of the pregnancy or something like that. But besides that, I basically think they should be told to get fucked. If they wanted to end the pregnancy, that there should have been an escape clause for the termination. Basically, that a pregnant woman has the autonomy, as Lactoid alluded to earlier, that no matter what the contract says, she still has autonomy once pregnant. And if they didn't carve that out in the contract, then I would say, too bad, so sad, go fuck yourself.
Okay,
let's go. I'd like to jump in here and provide some
we're just gonna
background on
intros.
The Family Code.
Well, we'll do intros and we'll get to you last.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no worries. Don't worry. It's your first time here. No worries. We'll just go around. So let's go to politics. JK. I'm not sure if you had been given the topic beforehand, since you.
I kind of saw it when I was waiting in the back, so I got something to say on it. Basically, okay. I would basically be in the same. Very close there to Connor and Lactoid. I don't think you can obviously make a woman get an abortion no matter what was in a contract. I think that I tend to try to be logical, but the emotions in that is just very difficult, and it is a woman carrying a child. However, in this case, I think at the end of the day, whether they wanted the abortion or not, that's all mess in the beginning. They actually fulfilled the contract. The baby was born, the contract was fulfilled when that was born. They should get their child that they hired the surrogate to have. Now, it does obviously complicate things when they didn't want them, but I think that was the point. Instead of running to Texas, you negotiate with them and say, hey, look, I want to keep this child and raise it. You don't want it. Let's figure out another deal or change the contract so I can keep this baby. And other than that, you're just going to have to revert to the contract, unfortunately, as difficult as it is. That's what the judges and the courts are going to look at, is the contract that was fulfilled.
Gibbs.
Oh yeah. I mean, first I want to say real quick one announcement. It's official. We are now doing a show on Friday, September 11th, live in Nashville. We're going to be doing it. It's going to be exciting, with our headliners being Tario and Dylan Burns. It's going to be exciting stuff with World War Debate, and we have a raffle. And then I have one other announcement. On September 16th, I will be moderating the Dinesh D'Souza 1v10 on the Sean Kelly show, and then as well as 4 other shows that week. So exciting stuff coming up here.
Wait,
so
when are you gonna be in Vegas?
I'm gonna be all the week of I'm gonna be the moderator the week of the 14th to the 18th. For all those shows, I'll be out there.
Okay. When you leave, I'm going to Vegas.
Well, hey, if you let me know, just let me know. I'm gonna be there a lot now. I think I'm gonna be a recurring guy doing it for him. But on this note, y'all are all missing something real important. And that is the fact that you're fucking with Texas. And that's the most important fact that we have to say about all of this is this actually is a states' rights issue more so than any other thing. And more importantly, it's a Texas national sovereignty issue. Because if you recall the founding of Texas, as I like to talk about often, I had the flag in the other room, the Battle of Gonzales, where we flew the come and take it flag. This is a big thing. Juan Seguin, a hero of the Battle of Bear County, or Bear, whatever, he said, let me just pull up my quote here real quick. He said, Texas shall be free and independent, or we shall die in glorious combat. Now, I don't know if you know what's been happening in Texas politics lately, but Dan Patrick did a boo-boo, and it's fucking us up. Maybe it's because he's not a native Texan. We should talk about it at the polls, guys. Vote out Dan Patrick. But anyway, as for the rest of the Republican Party, Ken Paxton's in a race with Talrico, and this is something that's key. Talrico is a plant. They can say he's not Generation Texan, but he is evil and he's an industry plant. And this man wants to destroy Texas. And Paxton is our guy. He's corrupt, but at least he's our piece of shit. All right. And so here's the facts. He is over here coming in and he's putting down the law. And the law right here that's important, okay, is that this is under Texas family law. We are not going to bend over and spread our cheeks for these pussy-ass Californians to go over there and kill a baby after it came out the womb or beforehand. It doesn't matter. This is a right of sovereignty. And if you think there's legal precedent for this, guess what? Supreme Court ruled against Texas. And I famously said this on this panel when Texas had the National Guard down there at the pass. If you recall, I said, well, then the Supreme Court can get these hands too. And so I dare these fuckers to come here and try to push California law over Texas law. This is a states' rights and national sovereignty issue. And Paxton, despite our feelings about him one way or the other, he is 100% correct to stand on business. It doesn't even matter what the family law is. The fact that California thinks they can push their sovereignty over the great nation state of Texas, the republic, the fucking kingdom of heaven here on the United States, is leading the country and green energy and all these other things. I'm just saying it's an affront to our dignity, and they need to learn their place.
Texas,
vote Republican in the election, except for Dan Patrick.
Texas fought so hard to be free, to be a slave state. Okay, let's go to poetic.
Crazy statement.
Poetic alchemist.
Santa Anna killed the slaves, for the record. Just scroll that out there. He didn't like the slaves.
I'm gonna have to build on top of what Gibbs said because he started off pretty good, but then he kind of trailed off for a while. So he is right that this is
right.
This is a state sovereign issue. And the child was born in Texas, so it is a property. It is like a citizen of Texas, essentially, and so it's going to be governed by Texas Family Code, no matter what California wants to do about it. California will have to extradite the child from Texas to California to enforce California law in this situation. And the Texas Family Code is very clear, even though the Dallas family courts can never seem to get it right and impose family law correctly. They do whatever they want, and it's a Wild West court down there, so I don't know what actually happened in this case. The Texas Family Code is very clear under Section 160.201, and the mother-child relationship is established as soon as the woman giving birth is established as the mother of the child automatically, and given custodial rights of that child. The father-child relationship is not established at the time of birth under Texas Family Code unless the couple is married. So in this case where this is not a married couple and she gave birth here in Texas, she automatically has rights to that child as its custodian, and the surrogate couple has no rights to this child under Texas law. And there is a Texas Family Code law that specifically goes into surrogacy, and that would have to be done and in order for that to be enforced, it would have to be done under a Texas surrogacy agreement, which has to be done by a court order in the state of Texas, which clearly did not happen because this was a case in California. So their surrogacy agreement basically bears no weight under the initial treatment of this child's custody order in Texas, and the Dallas family court screwed up, given when they made a dual declaration that basically is contradicting to itself. They gave the mother the right to perform the life-saving surgery, but then they said that she has no more rights to medical treatment and gave rights back to the surrogacy couple. And it's in direct which is no surprise coming from Dallas family courts, but it's in direct contradiction to what current Texas Family Code law stipulates should have happened in this situation. And So I'll go on. I agree that there's no reason the child should be aborted. In the case of surrogacy, if the surrogating couple no longer wants the child, then the mother should absolutely have the right to choose whether she keeps the child or terminates the child at that point. It should be 100% up to her decision after that point. But the surrogacy couple should have the right to walk away and not bear responsibility at that point if they don't want to. The woman chose to give surrogacy. It's her child. She's carrying it. At the end of the day, in Texas, we see her as the mother of this child, and that is her child, even if it was biologically implanted from someone else. So yeah, that's basically.
I'll say that
Tell
it's
them why you have
pretty.
the expertise on this. Tell them why you know all this shit because you're.
Oh yeah. So I've spent the last 6 years fighting pro se in Dallas family courts because they are very restrictive on fathers' rights here. I initially made an agreement.
What's
for 50,
pro se? Could you tell me?
Pro se is where you fight without a representational attorney and you represent yourself in family court.
Okay.
And so basically,
Generally a bad idea, to be clear.
Generally, it doesn't matter in family courts in Texas. Your father is going to lose. 95% of the time, Texas family courts will rule on the side of the mother and give her controlling custody. In Texas, what that looks like is, as a father, you get custody on Thursday nights and first, third, and fifth weekends and 30 days in the summer, and the mother gets all the rest of the time except for holidays, which are split and shared. And so I spent a lot of time down there. I've done a lot of my own work. I've done a lot of battles, and I've gone through all the way through court, where the court has reviewed and had a third party come in and investigate my custody situation. And when that third party custody said that they should give me 50-50, you know what the Dallas family court decided to do? They decided that they should put my case up for dismissal, and I have to now appeal a dismissal to come back because they don't want to rule to give a dad 50-50 custody, especially a white man, in the Texas family courts here in Dallas. It's a terrible travesty. They do whatever they want. They don't follow the law. The 255th court that I'm exercising in, the judge's name is Vonda Bailey. She has made a mass memorandum in her court that every single case that comes through her court must take child support on one parent or the other in order to be settled. Even in cases where the parents settle out of court, even in cases where they rule 50-50, and that is again a violation of the Texas Family Code, which stipulates that when 50-50 custody is made, there is no child support. So and it goes on and on. There was another case that happened a couple of years ago here in Dallas where there was a mother who wanted to transition her child from a boy to a girl, and the father sued to try and get rights to prevent the transition. And the mother took the child and left Texas and went to she got primary custody because she's the mom, and then she took the child and went to California and transitioned the child, and the father could never do anything about it and spent I think it was about $250,000 is what he raised in his GoFundMe attorney's account, and still couldn't get anything done. So it's wild, crazy courts down here. But
honestly, I do find it
to-
hilarious. Texas independence, Texas, rah rah. Unless it's like a judge in Texas that does something I don't like, then fuck that guy. Hey man, fuck that Texas judge, whatever. And I do have no.
Texas.
Wait, this isn't about Texas.
That's a fair point.
Hey,
I never said
Texas
anything
judge.
about Texas.
Fuck that Texas judge.
No, I'm talking.
Well, to
I mean,
give.
Texas.
Dallas is not in Texas, by the way.
Anyhow,
That's what I'm saying.
So,
I'm old Texas. He's a transplant, even though he's running for office. I'm representing the Texas nationalist interest. All right,
Wait, hold on. Who's running for office?
I am running for office. I'm running for the
It's
Texas
Stream Rift
Congressional District.
2.0.
Oh my goodness, it's so funny. My question for you guys though is, so from my understanding from the article, unless the article is wrong about this, so in regards to the abortion thing, both the parents and McKenna agreed to terminate. McKenna changed her mind, so why can't the parents change their mind too? I don't get why we're making this a thing.
Change their mind about what?
The abortion.
They didn't want any.
My argument on that is very simple.
I'm confused.
Once they decided to have the abortion and try to enforce her on that, they essentially terminated.
They never
their
tried to
rights
force her.
on
McKenna agreed to terminating the child.
Well, hold on.
Well, under that agreement, at that point, their
That's not
contract
proven.
is terminated. Under my opinion,
So
and
Under
as
my
long as McKenna
opinion.
can bring any
That's
type of proof,
most
like-
base thing ever said, by the way. I need to clarify something. It is disputed as to whether or not she agreed first. According to her series of events, that's not what happened. That she said no, and then she fled to Texas. but she still
That's why
fled
I
to
said
Texas
it's
either
she
way.
said, she said.
No, I understand, but she still fled to Texas either way, and so the biological parents were still on board with the abortion when she was not.
I personally don't think it
that,
matters
like,
whether
we
she
keep-
agreed or not.
but
Once
the-
they
no, no,
stated that
I think they might have changed their mind
determined
while
that they wanted the
before
abortion,
then.
I think they terminated their rights in the surrogacy agreement.
Well, the
Why?
issue that people are having is they're saying
while,
no,
So
but
you go-
what
you go
people are
first, Sam.
saying that like, again, I actually agree with you, Lactoid. I don't think anyone in here has advocated that she should be held down on the table and forced to give an abortion. Like we do hold a consistent.
Yeah, nobody agrees to that.
She doesn't have to do that, but again,
Or coerced through $100,000.
Well, but the argument is that it's a contract. So if you if you don't want to do it, if I paid the cost of artificial insemination, I'm sure this family has been fronting all these costs up to this point, and you're saying that afterwards, I'm questioning, are they entitled to damages? Are you saying that?
No, hold on. To be clear,
contract.
no, I
damages?
understand, and normally I'm all about contracts. Like I love contracts. It's great. But there's certain things you don't. First of all, there's certain things you don't get to contract for. You don't get to buy people. You don't get to kill people.
Can you give up your parental
Sorry,
rights?
no,
Well, you don't have to.
No, we can.
That's what I'm saying.
can.
You don't have to.
But can you give up your
Absolutely.
parental rights?
You can.
Yes, you can.
You can get
Correct.
into a contract with a doctor for abortion services, right? That's something that can happen.
Not in
Let's
Texas.
not pretend.
That's why she went to Texas.
I understood. We got that part, right? But still, like that's.
God bless Texas.
But
Thank God.
this is important to establish, right? Because Lactoid, with the force of him being a lawyer, though he's not like using his law degree here, right? Like he's saying, "Oh,
Which
you
I
can't
specified.
do this, but you can't." True, you didn't, right? But people still know that you're a lawyer. But like, you can do this, right? You can actually contract that. That's
Right
the
now,
thing that happens,
to be
right?
clear, like I said at the beginning, I'm going to be talking about my opinion because
Exactly.
there's a
I
lot
know.
of different things here.
I'm not attacking you.
But if we're talking about like a matter of law, my understanding is in Texas you don't get to be able to contract for an abortion because it's against state law.
I get
You
that.
can.
Right.
Sure.
And then going back to my opinion here, what I'm saying is I don't think you should be allowed to contract to own people and buy and sell people, and I do not think that you should be allowed to contract to kill a 20-week-old
It's
person.
important to hear that. Should, right?
Do you think we should have an abortion ban outright or no?
One second before we
Should and yes, in Texas it is.
but before we do that, so I think this is a California couple. Am I incorrect? there?
California
That's
couple,
California.
the surrogate is from Alaska who then fled to Texas.
And they use the
Very
Connecticut website to do a survey.
Yeah, and
They
they
use the Connecticut companies all over the place, right? Yeah, fair
it's
enough,
fun.
right?
Yeah.
But I mean, and then it's like which law applies. So it's very.
I agree. That's the legal question, and that's going to be what it comes down to in the lawsuit because the surrogate is getting sued for $100,000. And I actually agree with like maybe there's some argument for like once. But here's the part of like I actually somewhat agree with what Connor said, which is like if you paid for all this money to like get the chick pregnant in the first place, but then you're okay with terminating or you want to terminate, like that's all going to be lost cost anyway. So like what kind of damages are you?
But that's
Wait a second. Hold on.
Different conversation.
I want to get my point out.
No, it's not a different conversation.
I want to get my. Excuse me. No. Thank you. Yes, this happened in California. They signed the contract in. Well, I'm not sure if it was
California.
in California they signed it, but it was a California contract.
California
right?
contract. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a California contract, and within there it has a clause. Hey, like we're executing this contract on the assumption that if these clauses are called, then you will follow through. Yeah. If you don't, right, even though you agreed to, if you don't, well then yes, you should. It's very reasonable to hold you for damages, right? Or
not
to
necessarily,
not pay out, or to not
absolutely
pay out
not
for breach of contract,
or to not pay out the contract, right? Like let's say because I think my understanding of this, and I could be wrong, is that like payment comes in like installments, right? Like as the pregnancy continues, right? Like whatever is owed before is owed afterwards, she shouldn't get, right? Or you should simply say that like if it's not maybe damages, hey, you have to reimburse us because you didn't follow the contract. Right, you broke the contract. That's
how did she break the contract?
So let me right. Prime. Let me explain.
The contract doesn't include running and then trying to steal the child. Right,
but Prime
doesn't include any of that.
You cannot enforce a contract where it is illegal. Like that's just a thing of contract law.
Well, hold on,
So even you can put whatever you.
Hold on, one second. Hold on, Lactoid. Again, hold on, because you don't understand what I'm saying. I get Texas exists. I understand. You have to explain to me again that Texas exists.
No, I'm not talking about. Stop. You don't understand where I'm going.
Finish the point, and then you can respond to it. Then you understand the point. Then you can respond. You're beautiful. So I'm saying that like what is reasonable. I'm also talking about shoulds, right? We're talking about the California law. Should we be able to like either sue her or to get their money reimbursed under California law, right? Yes, that exists. Now it gets complicated the moment you move off to Texas. Absolutely agreed. Right? I get that. It gets complicated when she runs off to Texas. I think it's crazy what I think Poetic says is that like, oh, all you have to do, right? You get into these surrogacy contracts. All you got to do is just like run to Texas, and then you get to keep the baby. Oh, you've decided. Even if you guys were all on the same page, as far as the biological parents were concerned, everything was copacetic. We're all on the same page. We're doing the same. We're going to have this baby together, right? And then the biological parents are going to get the baby. But then she's like, you know what? Fuck it. I want the baby. I'm going to go to Texas, and now I'm the legal mother, and you can't do shit about that. That's crazy. That's a crazy.
She's going to get terrible reviews on Yelp. So I mean, there's that avenue. But I understand what you're saying, Prime. But why I was emphasizing the you can't enforce a legal contract. To be clear, is that this is an argument like you can make this argument under like contract law. Like it's not necessarily like under the statute. You can say like, well, I couldn't fulfill the contract because it would be illegal for me to do so. And therefore, like you should be stopped to pursuing any kind of damages.
When you ran to Texas.
Now, that's going to be the legal argument, I'm sure. Like the legal argument is, well, you caused this by going to a state where it was illegal. But that argument in of itself is like really strange. Like you went to a area that you are perfectly entitled to go to in America.
For the purpose of breaking the contract.
Whatever the purpose is, for a second, just focus. It is legal and allowed. We have freedom of movement in America. This is long-standing federal law. I can walk into Texas without any kind of passport, and many times as I want. This is the law.
You should seal it off.
I have the right, I have the right to go into Texas. I have the right to do it. So the question is, if I exercise my right to go into a state like Texas, and now where I have a right to be, I am no longer able to fulfill a contract because it would be illegal for me to do so. Can I use this now as a way to get out of the contract? For me, it's a really fucking tough question. And I understand where you're coming from. Well, what if you just have like all these surrogates just basically taking the money, then go having kids that aren't genetically theirs because they want to be moms or whatever. I don't really know if this is going to be like an epidemic, to be honest with you.
It never is. It's all one-off cases.
Yeah, I agree.
Happens in custody cases all the time.
But it's possible.
But stop. Right, let's stop. Let's deal with that right there, and let's make it not surrogacy. Let's say that I live in California. And
all the time.
And let's say I have a sole proprietorship. I'll say I'm not attached to some LLC, but like I make some agreement with you to sell you $1 million of marijuana, and I say and you pay me the cash, and then I decide to move to a state where marijuana is illegal to distribute. Do I like? And I'm just gone now. I just have your money because you say it's unable to fulfill that contract. Again, I'm just because I'm.
I hear what you're saying. I don't know. I don't. That's a really tough question. I don't know. Probably because there is a problem. Like, if
that's not apples to oranges, though, because
it is. It sort of is, though. It sort of is. I understand the point.
No, because there's an inherent risk in surrogacy that has to be taken into account, and so like if the
there's a risk in dealing drugs too. To be clear,
if the surrogacy just failed,
we've all seen House of the Dragon.
Viable, then the mother is not on the hook for the cost of that. So like,
hold on, but that can be understood within the contract. Yeah. Like something beyond if something beyond your control happens, that's beyond your control. Fair enough, right? That's different from you intentionally running to Texas. That's completely different.
Okay, but when the surrogate parent said, "I want you to abort that child," Did they or did they not, in your opinion, terminate all their rights to the child?
didn't.
They said,
No,
"I."
we can have that.
I don't want it.
That's
They
a
said, "I don't want it."
conversation.
You can
But
make the
that-
same
we're talking about
argument
money.
That's
as
the
the
first
individual
conversation that needs to be had.
No,
Well,
that's
but
second.
you
not.
can that argument applies
It
to the
could be
woman
the
who
case.
signed the contract that said that she would do it as well. So I mean, you can make that claim for her that she already gave the right to them to tell her to abort with the contract.
Or this
That's
is
an
what we would like.
unenforceable
Yeah, but-
contract, and
But
that,
I'm just
that
talking
voids
about
the
the
Yeah, that's
entire contract
unenforceable.
entirely.
We can figure out
Correct.
what's
But at the end of the day, the
This is
contract
And
was
then
fulfilled.
there is no damages in
And
an
there was
really.
they
unenforceable
didn't
contract.
sign away
They
their
didn't provide the
contractual
baby
right.
that they wanted. Like
Hold
that-
up.
the contract had-
Somebody said there's no damages, and I think somebody looked at me twisted in reference to when I agreed with Lactoid for that.
There's no
Paying for the
damages in an
IVF, paying
unenforceable
for the
contract.
insemination, paying for the pregnancy, paying for the checkups and all that kind of stuff. That would be costs incurred with an expected result. So I think that they could put language in the contract effectively saying that, like, if we ask you to terminate and you don't terminate or whatever, like, that should be a voluntary part of the contract. But we've incurred all these costs with an expected result and we're not getting that result. Therefore, you would owe us these costs. Now, I think that's stingy. I think that's fucked up. You're basically putting financial leverage on whether or not somebody does an abortion. But ultimately, I would leave that up to a court to decide on what was fair.
And
Then you're
sign
putting
it.
But
every
in this
surrogate
case-
mother
in
at
this
risk
case,
that
they
like
indicated
says
that
that like
they want the child. So that's the
if
big
something goes
topic-
wrong, it's
talking
on
about
her
right
to
now.
pay the cost of it. That's ridiculous.
No.
What do you mean?
It's not. No, it's not. If something goes
It's not
wrong,
ridiculous.
right? If there's something
Voluntarily.
outside of your control, right? Let's say if she miscarriages, that doesn't mean that, like, oh, now you're on the hook, right? That would be a problem. But like, if you specifically do actions, right, with the specific result to violate that contract, yeah, actually, it makes perfect sense to get damages for that.
And I do
She
think it's
delivered a
I do think
baby.
it's
How did she
morally
how did she currently violate the contract?
because their contract
because she absconded with the child.
The
and
contract
she-
said the contract
they
said
don't
to
want
kill.
The child. They
said
said
to
they
kill.
don't want the child.
No, hold on. Sorry, hold on. Stop again. So again, this is why we actually do have to deal with this right now, right? We have to stop. We have to deal with this right now. Like the idea that they didn't want the child. Let's follow this through, right? Okay. Let's say that they wanted to terminate the child, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the surrogate agreed, right? And they did, and now there are remains. Okay, what happens to those remains? The surrogate mother is Christian, and let's say, and I believe the biological parents are Muslim. I feel like they're Muslim. Maybe they're not. I don't know.
Their
But
name
it sounds
sounded
they're
Muslim.
They have a name sounded
Definitely
Muslim. So
rape
let's just
and
assume
going based
that
off the
they are,
names.
right? Let's just assume they are. The surrogate mother wants to have a like a Christian burial, and then the biological parents want a Muslim burial. Let's say that's different. I don't know.
For an abortion?
Yes, yeah, people,
They're
people do
demanding
that.
a funeral for an abortion
Yes,
that they
hold on,
forced.
people do that all the time.
Actually,
Yes,
actually,
they
the
do.
Muslims would
Who?
admit that child's soul
No,
went to
sorry,
heaven.
it doesn't-
Well, they do it for
And-
miscarriages all the time.
This is
Not
a
for abortion.
hypothetical. This is a
Guys,
hypothetical.
Yeah, miscarriages.
This would be
Guys,
crazy.
Guys, hold on,
You're
guys.
dealing with the wrong
It's a valid
Please,
question,
please,
actually.
please,
entered a new era of
Yes.
insanity, boys.
It's a very valid
is-
question.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Anyway, who owns the remains? Right? Is it the surrogate or is it the biological parents? Right.
No,
Now again,
It would
the
depend on the state
biological
law.
parents said in that case, the biological parents said they asked for the termination. Does that mean that they are not entitled to the remains? Or they no longer they've lost those rights? I think a lot of people would say no. Actually, of course they're entitled to them. It's still their kid. Absolutely yes. So no, I don't think they've given up the rights.
It's
for
their
them, right?
what?
And they can hold on, wait a second. Also,
Well, he said it's a
let's go
kid,
to
so we all agree that abortion
I'll
is
say one
wrong.
more thing, right? Which is also crazy.
I was waiting for somebody to
because-
point that out.
because during the process,
Therapy.
right, of the pregnancies, this happens among couples, right? Just two people. They think about, hey, what do I want for this child, right? Like, what
Yeah.
do I want? What do I want to do? Sometimes, like along that process, they're like, hey, maybe we should abort. And maybe they like make the appointment, and maybe they drive all the way up to the clinic, right? Or maybe one of them does, right? They drive all the way up to the clinic, and then they change their mind. But you would say, oh, okay, at that point, you've already lost custody. The moment you made the decision to terminate, you lost custody. We wouldn't say that. Why are we saying it here? It's
I
crazy.
can answer
Of
this
course
very
you still have
simply
custody.
for you.
No,
It's
that-
wait,
Well,
wait,
before Wait.
This is very simple.
I think you just said something.
I just want to add context.
Let's flip the
wait.
scenario.
Bam.
Okay.
I just want to add context. I want you to finish your point. I want to add context that we can't make it seem like they just wanted a child dead and on a flip of a switch. In the contract, it also indicated if there's fetal abnormalities. So that is a very key distinction because we're making it seem like they just wanted the baby dead.
I don't think that changes the analysis.
It is very clear.
No, it doesn't.
Lactoid, can I make a micro point? So I want to make a micro point. So Prime seems less
I can answer this
less
question.
unhinged.
In Texas,
So-
the mother gets the remains, and in California, it's my body, my choice.
Why are you so
she
proud
gets
of
it.
Texas?
Hold on, Texas boy.
I'm not proud. I'm trying to shove down your
Texas
throat
boys.
how much mothers have
Hold
rights in
on,
custody
I want
boards
Prime to
than
sound
fathers.
less of a sociopath.
This
Okay.
happens in the majority of states in the country.
Texas
The
boy.
mother would retain rights.
This guy.
Please.
Yeah, you see the trend here.
Fine, go ahead.
Texas
Dan,
boys.
I see. I know you want to
Secede from us later. Okay, so to make Prime sound less of a psycho, okay?
Okay,
So
here
let's
you go.
imagine that rather than like a heart defect that was capable of being survivable, let's say that the kid had Tay-Sachs, right?
Okay.
Like some like unsolvable genetic issue, and they knew that they were just going to put it through suffering, so then they had an abortion. Then at that point, I've known people who have done funerals for miscarriages, and I would not be surprised if a child had like a abnormality that was fatal, if they would have some kind of funerary preparations for that kind of abortion.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
see it
Otherwise,
being-
Prime sounded like a
Hold on,
fucking
hold on,
psycho because he was saying like abort kids and then let's do funerals.
That's why the context matters. That's
Okay,
why-
Yes, let me respond to what Connor just said. Fair enough. I can see, I suppose, in that very limited circumstance of like Tay-Sachs, where it is quite literally there is nothing that can be done to prevent this kid from dying some painful death at like 1 or 2 years old. Fair enough. That's not the situation here. And
Prime did make it sound like people were having abortions
and
then doing funerals for them, even if they were healthy.
Because that to me, the idea of like I'm gonna do an abort, I'm gonna have like 4.
Sorry, why are you getting distracted by this? This is nonsense, right? Like
no, because it's
even if
crazy.
Weird, you know,
it is. It's an important
Let's say this.
distinction.
Let's say, stop it. Stop getting distracted. Let's say it is crazy, right? Let's say in your logic, it's completely crazy to have an abortion, to like go through an emotional process of the abortion, right? And wanting to go through a funeral, right? Because there was a loss, and maybe you were reluctant about it or whatever, right? Let's say it's fucking crazy to you for some fucking reason, right? Still, what we're talking about is who owns this property. That's the thing that I'm discussing.
Well,
I was getting.
That's very simple. Legally, the mother owns the rights to remains. It's not a Texas thing. It's a majority of the nation.
I was about to get to that because I think the question. I think that like from a deeply intuitive and moral sense, like there's like Connor said, and I think Connor picked up on this. There is something like wildly shocking about like the parents that forced the abortion, then also having the funeral. Like that to me seems like psychopathic behavior. But if you're saying like, well, at the end of the day, like maybe a miscarriage would be a better example. Who owns the remains? I agree. That's also like a tough question for me. In a similar reason why it'd be a tough question. If it would be like who should be the parent of the kid, honestly, and I don't know the complete answer to that.
Maybe they all are
on the should question. But what if we want to talk about the should question? To answer, I guess the partially, I guess the point that Riddell made. I think that if you choose to have the abortion, well, first of all, you just shouldn't be able to do it. So like, fuck it. Everything else is based off that point. You shouldn't be able to do that.
Great.
And so for whatever reason, if you're able to do that due to some fucking horrible people allow you to do something like that, then I know we've had the gates of life conversation. If for whatever reason you're able to do that, then no, you shouldn't be able to like have the remains because obviously you wanted this person dead. What the fuck?
Again,
like,
so again,
can I respond to that?
You go first, Bam.
Yeah, so like, so that I just want to see if like if I want to want the lawyer to come out. I want somebody to talk about the legal portion of it. So let's flip the scenario.
I don't fucking know. This is so hard.
No, let's flip the situation and see if it changes nothing. And we'll even put it in Texas. Let's say a Texas surrogate. Texas surrogate decides, like, her boyfriend breaks up with her, and she actually feels like, I don't want to do this anymore.
So it's a Texas biological parent. So let's get this straight.
No, the surrogate. No, the surrogate's pregnant in Texas, and she's decides, like, she has a bad day, and she's like, actually, I thought it was gonna be cool for the money. I don't want to do this anymore, and she flees to California and has an abortion with the other people's money. They've been paying for the process, of the pregnancy, and she decides she doesn't want to go through it anymore. Again, from bodily autonomy perspective, I hold the same position. Like, they can't force her to go through the pregnancy she doesn't want to, so she terminates the pregnancy. I would say that the biological parents in that situation that have went through this, they said, like, I gave you my last egg, like, in hopes of, like, being a mother. This is something that was really important to me, and you just killed that last egg for whatever reason.
Yeah, they're out the baby.
I think they're entitled to damages.
No, I agree, because they're I agree that
you have to do the same BS. I don't know what to think in this situation. You can't. Nothing changed about the scenario. There's no difference.
What the fuck are you talking about?
No, absolutely. There's a law. There's already a law in place that.
We're not talking about the law here for a second. We're talking about like the consistency here of the prior example. In the first case, there's no damage. There's no damages in the sense of
you broke the contract. That's the damages. The same damages are in this case.
But you're assuming that, like, you can break a contract and there be no damages. Like, damages are, what are you out because the contract was broken? In the first case, you're not out anything if you're not owing parental. Stop. In the first case, you'd be out that money anyway if they terminated. You're not out anything because they refuse to terminate, because that's the breakage. There's no damages resulting from that breakage. But in the second example that you gave, in the second example you gave, there are damages. You're out the baby.
You're out
the baby's not the important. Money is.
What?
I'm talking about what to do with the money. I'm talking about the financial part. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like, we flipped it, because I don't want to talk about the baby. I want to talk about the financial
but they're out. They're out the thing that they paid money for.
I'm out the money.
But you would have been out the money either way. That's not due to the termination.
That's my choice, though.
So you're saying that, but just because you break a contract doesn't mean there's damages associated.
Like, if I spend $100 and somebody steals $100 from me, I'm still out $100.
No, but if you would have been out $100, if you would have been out $100 either way, then you don't have damages. If you would have been out
from me versus if I choose to spend it.
Sorry, hold on. No, this is a very easy case. Hold on. We can do this. We can do this. We can do this. We can do this. Right? It's so easy. So, like,
help me out. Prime. Lay it on the law. The Texas law. Help me out.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. So, like, hey, we can bring it back to this case, right?
Okay.
Actually, we're gonna slightly tweak this. Let's slightly tweak the example, because, like, okay, so we understand this baby is going to be born with this abnormality, high mortality rate, right? And to treat this, they have to have ongoing surgery costs, right?
Yeah.
That would be the damages. Let's say the parents said, like, oh, we did want to terminate, right? And then the person says, like, well, I as a Christian or whatever, I can't terminate. So they flee to Texas. But then like, okay, now I've given birth, but now this is your baby, right? Here's your baby. Should they be on the hook for that baby? When they say specifically, we can't afford this. They are going to incur damages by having that baby. So, like, would you understand that would be damages in that case?
No. In that particular case, but that's not the case here. What's being alleged in the lawsuit is $100,000 for breach of contract, specifically for refusing to terminate the child. That's what's going on. Now, what you're saying is this surrogate who had the kid, let's say she's the mother now, and she's trying to come after us to pay for medical care for this child. Maybe there's a point. Yeah, maybe that there's an argument that you actually have ongoing damages.
I just want to say that.
Sure. But what I'm saying is, in the situation of the surrogate who's currently fighting for custody, right? If the surrogate accepts responsibility and accepts the cost, which he's trying to do, then the original parents have no damages.
Okay. Hold on a second. This is so dumb. Because we're dealing with a lawyer, and lawyers are lawyer brain all the time, right? Of course, right? Hey,
and we're tall and have big dicks.
You want to call it recruit?
Let's not call it damages, okay? Right? Let's call it a fine. Hey, you broke the contract,
That's
right?
Terrible. That's not the way fines work.
I'm sorry. I don't. He's trolling the fuck out of me right now.
I'm not trolling you. It's
no,
a fine.
I understand
Contracts don't have fines. What the fuck is that?
Hold on. Sorry.
Fines.
You can have.
There's a lay person over here.
Okay. Okay. You can have within a contract a clause that says that if you don't follow through this contract, you are on the hook for something, a monetary damage or something. Not called damages. Yes, a negative monetary amount, right? I don't know what it's called. Maybe a fine, maybe something else. Whatever it's called, that thing. You can put that in the contract, correct? Yes, say it like to
no, but
yes, you can.
It's tough because like what's going to happen is generally speaking, like when you're making contracts, like you can put in a fine. I don't know because you can put in a fine. No, stop. I'm trying to explain this. Okay. You can put in things to try to like account for, like here's a number to account for a certain level of damages that we will suffer in the event that this contract is like voided or you break this contract. I don't know, and I don't think you can just put in like fines in a contract that go like obviously beyond whatever damages that you'd be responsible for paying or that you'd be out or whatever kind of time value. I don't know if you can do that. Or if these contracts are like held up in any way.
So are you saying that $100,000 is too high? That gives us your hand. I'll go.
Yeah, like potentially, like for example, like if I was drafting a contract, I could put in, we agree that in the event of breach of this contract, you would pay liquidated damages in this amount, because of the kind of damages that I would suffer. You can't
say like $2 million if it's like $100,000.
Yeah, if there's no way your damages are anywhere close to $2 million, like I just don't think you'd get that. Like you would fight it. You would fight it in court. Okay. I just don't think that you'd get that.
So now we're just talking about the amount. But like the clause that I'm talking about is perfectly legal. You can do this, right? Like for instance, and this is a very different case, obviously, I understand. But like with the Twitter, right? When Elon Musk, right, he like made the proposal to buy Twitter, and then he tried to get out of it. Then Twitter sued him because he was trying to break that because there's damages just within the process of like the exploration. So like, but you can put that within a contract. I just want to establish that this is a clause you can put in. Great. Yep. So now we're just talking about the amount. Maybe the amount is excessive, but we can put an amount.
Sure. Okay. But in my opinion, in this situation, if the liquidated damages here are specifically to reimburse for costs associated with the surrogacy, so the egg transplant, all the medical care, et cetera, which I haven't seen the contract, but that's my guess.
Maybe
I don't think. But emotional. But again, I don't put a lot of stock in that. If we're talking about if we're
in a way that I don't want
emotional damages to know that your DNA is in the world, I suppose you could put that in the contract. I would put very little stock in that.
I think that's
custody of your biological child.
That's pretty common. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. The idea that there's some like. I would want. I don't want somebody to have my same DNA in a different state, or like a similar, not even my same DNA, but like similar DNA in a different state, and therefore you owe me money.
That's a big thing. That's a big thing with That's a big thing with consent. People go to like clinics and they figure out that my DNA was stolen to make someone.
Yeah, it doesn't. I'll be honest with you. To whatever damages this represents, to me that damage is like utterly negligible and completely different from this second situation that you described, where you're literally out the child, the thing that you put all the effort into the surrogacy in the first place.
Let's go to our friend Gibbs, a wonderful ginger, right? But our mascot ginger. We're gonna go to our friend Gibbs, and then Riddell wants to join in, and maybe Poetic. Anyone else? Okay. Yeah.
Okay. First, I know that y'all wanted to get away from the Texas thing, but we're coming back. Y'all should have known that. Let's just start with this beautiful painting behind me right here. This is Sam Houston. The Battle of San Jacinto. Well, the painting's gone. But taking the surrender from Santa Ana. Now, the reason why Mr. Hoffnagel and I's approach have gone slightly different is, one, this is a local Dallas issue that he's familiar with. Two, I'm making this as more of a like native-born Texan issue, right? One, there's a whole reason why the Mexican-American War was fought. It was fought because Texas was like, we're going to do this and you're going to help us. And that's basically what happened. And so we were there with Mexico's ass. We took a whole bunch of land. Of that portion, California was surrendered. Right. So they're basically our little bitch, right? The whole time. And so the idea that not only on one level, but the idea that on like a federal level, like California, who's our junior, is going to tell us that we have to subvert to their laws is outright disgusting. All right.
Bruh.
And so when I come here and I talk about Paxton, when we see that the money coming
You
from
hate them, you
California-
love them.
No. See, California is paying. There's Californians are paying Talrico. He's an outsider, even though his baby's born here. This guy's fake news. He's just like a product. He's like Hassan was born here, not really kind of shit. Like like maybe they were, but it's like, it's the epitome of a Manchurian candidate. Awful. And so when we're seeing this is a core concept here. We have to protect our Texas independence and we protect our sanctity that was guaranteed upon us when we joined the United States. Now, secondly, it comes down to state politics. And, really, once again, the libs are losing. They're losing, as we discussed, the New World Order, right? It's gone. It's shattered. It's gone. I know y'all wish and pray and hope that it's come back, but this is just your weeping.
Gibbs, what the fuck are you talking about?
Trust me, I got somewhere going. And now we're seeing it with these policies here in the domestic areas. The libs are over here crying. They don't know what's going on. You just pointed out how it's doublespeak, how they actually should be in favor of women's rights and how they should be protected over her body, the right to choose. You've talked about all these other things, but they just don't even know what to fight anymore. They just see that, this is happening in a state like Texas, and they want to come for us. It's outrageous. We're really the prosecuted minority here. That's what's happening. These evil Democrats are always coming for the upstanding state of Texas, and I'm sick of it, Brian. Why do you hate Texas so much?
I don't hate Texas. I like Texas. I like Texas women. They're extremely attractive. But
see that what if this child's a woman? It can grow up to be a woman one day and produce more Texas women.
It's a boy. But they could be
women either way.
I agree. They could become a Texas woman eventually.
Shout out Rumi, man.
Whatever.
Let's go. This is fine. But no, there's some hot Texas women out there. So
if that's your type of woman, I'm not going to begrudge you. Okay, it's fine.
Fair enough. I appreciate you, Gibbs. You're a wonderful person. Let's go to our friend. I believe Riddell was next. Yes, Riddell, and then Poetic.
It seems like there was some level of agreement. So maybe I don't have much to say because ultimately it's very clear that there was a contract. She broke it. She went to Texas. I guess my curiosity would be then after we understand those portions of the conversation, do we think the parents can change their mind once they realize that the kid is about to be born? Because obviously when it comes down to this disease in particular, even though it's not as bad as what Connor described, it's still a very bad disease. You're going to obviously be doing surgeries your entire life. Multiple diagnostics are necessary. And there's a chance that you're only going to live to like 30, maybe 40 years old. So it's not something that's easy to live with by any means. They also brought up the possibility of neurological issues that could happen with the kid as well. So they understood a lot of this when it comes down to it, which came into their decision. The baby is about to be born. They kind of like, all right, we're here now. I want my child. It's still my child. I just don't want him to live this life. So do we think that they can change that mind? And if they do change their mind, why aren't they warranted to have their kid?
Actually, well, hold on. Can I back that up? So I was texting somebody about this, and they actually sent me some argumentation. If the Texas court awards custody to the people who are paying, I still think that they should have to fulfill all the financial obligations under the contract because the surrogacy is fulfilled. It might not be in the ideal circumstances or whatever, the way that they wanted it and all that kind of stuff. But basically, if the Texas court awards them custody, then
if they get the
she has provided a provided.
Yeah.
That's right. It's the Texas court.
But they contested.
That's the more important part of that.
They should be able to get out of it, though.
Parenthood. But they contested the parenthood, right? Like they brought them into court specifically, like even though there's a clause that says you're not a parent, right? They brought them into court to say that now I am the parent. It feels like something happened there. Right?
I'm just saying Texas law. Because there's a segment of Texas law that's being argued over right now, which is according to one section, if you're born, like if a mother gives birth in Texas, there's an argument that child is that's the mother.
Hold on, sorry. Go ahead. I know y'all think I'm memeing, but this is the part that I keep coming back to. Right now, I'll say it right now. Paxton, I hope you're listening. If you don't fucking win this jurisdiction battle, You're gonna lose my fucking vote. He better fucking win this jurisdiction battle. Goddammit. Like that's I'm just saying, he needs. His whole thing is he's piece of shit, but he's not piece of shit. Get shit done. So he better fucking win this jurisdiction battle, right? And y'all over here talking about all this other shit. That's not the voter issue down here in Texas. Or at least it's not the one that I've been seeing. It's some of what he's been talking about, and it's a lot of. They better not let this fucking shit go to Cali, where these liberal fucks are going to decide it for us. Absolutely not. Like that's kind of when we've already got these established laws. Like that's outrageous.
I do.
Here, let's frame it this way.
On to that part of the conversation, if you want to talk about parentage, that's the second part of the conversation.
Yeah, I'm much less convinced about that one. That one's tougher.
I do want to. Poetic was going to go, so I want to make sure that he has a chance, right? And then counterpoints. I'm sure still has stuff to say.
Well, I have 6 points. What do the damages come from? Even though she fled to give birth to a healthy baby that would otherwise have been aborted, and now the surrogate family can have their baby.
It's so not a healthy baby, though.
As healthy as it was going to be. And I don't understand where damages come from in her actions.
That is factually true. Hold on, Prime. That is a true statement by definition.
Factually true statement.
Fight it.
It's
by definition.
I'll debate you on that
if
you
you want.
want.
It's kind of true. Understood.
Yeah,
yes,
it's
someone the day before they did.
Dead people are less healthy.
Technically correct. I'm just
They're as healthy
It's going to be as healthy as it's going to be.
Some people are born with weird shaped heads. It's just how they are.
True. Are you denying that, Prime? Are you denying that some people are born with weird shaped heads?
I'm not denying people are born weird shaped hearts. I'm not denying any of that. Yeah,
Weird shaped heart is.
It's not the mother's fault. The mother did nothing to stop the baby from being born. The mother is the woman who gave birth to the child. That is the definition of a woman.
Incorrect.
I don't know who had the weird shaped head.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
See, they're big into genetics and eugenics and stuff.
Okay. So
I care about the law.
The law states
Texas
that the woman
law.
who popped her out of her vagina is the mother.
That's right.
The gates of life, the vagina. Prime.
Also, I wanted to tell you that law exists in 50 out of 50 states. So no matter where this child was born in this country,
Does it really?
Unless that surrogacy contract is considered a valid contract in that state, the mother automatically is granted custody. 100% of the time.
You're saying you can just switch states.
Yes, I am saying just like in many custody cases where mothers will flee across the state line to go have their child somewhere else and claim that the dad was abusing her so that she had to flee and get custody of the kids and not let that father see his kids, a surrogate mother could equally do the same thing over and over again until we address laws. Until the laws are addressed better, that we give rights to fathers and we give rights to surrogate people, this is going to continue to happen because this is how the law is written right now. And y'all have been dodging that since I brought it up earlier. Y'all don't want to talk about how fathers and surrogates have no rights and mothers have all the rights in
You're
custody.
trying to take this father's rights.
Why are we
the father
talking about
Put a ring on it, you son of a bitch.
Anyways, moving on to my next
This
point.
is a should conversation.
Why are you taking away that good father's rights?
Fathers should have rights. Father automatically
Was he good
should get
father?
50-50 share
tried to-
custody
he wanted to-
unless
he
you
wanted to
can
make
prove
it
they're
work.
not fit, willing, or
Why
able
didn't-
to have custody.
What about
Put a
the
ring
father
on
of this
it.
kid?
Wait, why did?
What
why
about the
didn't-
father of
why
this
don't we
child?
want to listen to the father?
So hold on. I actually
Why don't we
Googled this
get
because
to
I was mad
Alright.
curious in the background. This doesn't have anything to do with the surrogate argument, but I Googled married versus unmarried custodial arrangements both in Florida and Texas.
Absolutely
Okay.
makes a difference.
And so in Florida, if you're married, it's default 50-50. If you're in Texas, if you're married, it's 60-40. But in both states, if you're unmarried, because 100% custody defaults to the mom, and you have to prove your paternity, and then you have to sue for partial custody.
This is what I've been saying, and it's not just Texas and Florida.
That's
it's
crazy.
100% of the country. It's every
Matriarchy.
single state. Every single state.
But
This is where feminism has driven us, taking
this is
advantage
crazy.
and abusing family courts and making men a secondary citizen.
True,
for
second-class citizens.
decades.
Man,
We
these
are.
conservative
Men
states
are
are crazy.
second-class citizens in family courts, and it happens in every
how
single
should it
state.
be? Wait, what are you arguing?
We need our civil rights movement.
No,
It
this
should
is-
automatically be
like,
50-50
because at the end of the day,
custody
you're talking about a
unless you
single
can prove
mother.
that one parent is unfit, unwilling or unable to parent.
I'm sorry, hold on.
Paternity
Why
test
are
should be
you're very
mandatory.
confused.
Paternity test should be automatically ordered. in
Wait,
every
hold
single
up.
case.
Based off of your argumentation, since it's biological material from the other people, and then this woman delivered it, are they 33% parents, and therefore they should have 33 three-way split custody?
Under
that's
Texas
tough.
law currently, when they decide this, it actually should be a 60-40 split.
But they're not married.
Anyways, yes, that's why it's 60-40. Mom gets 60. The surrogate couple's going to get 40. That's how
that's
it should
only
be.
But that's only in married situations.
That's how it.
Why this is not comparable?
So
I don't know.
the unmarried situation is exactly what happens once you prove paternity. Being married just gives you automatic proof of paternity in every state in this nation. And what happens is when you're married, and even if it's not your child and you get DNA tests, you're still held as the father and forced to pay child support all the time. There's massive and many cases across the nation of this happening. And if you don't believe me, go Google it. There's a dude who did a whole YouTube series about it in Louisiana or Mississippi he's from. And he had genetic testing to prove and went to the court multiple times. And he's still ordered to pay child support to this day. And they threw him in jail for making his YouTube series about it.
I think it's fine.
Pause for a second. Does anyone disagree? Sorry. Of all the guys, of all the people here with penises, presumably you all have penises, right? Does anyone disagree with this point that like the courts are currently unfair to men, or does anyone disagree?
Nobody disagrees.
Right? We all agree. We all agree.
No, I disagree. I know we don't all agree. I'm disagreeing in real time.
Okay.
He's about to get banned.
No, I'm not disagreeing. No, I'm disagreeing in part, just like the Supreme Court does. Like he tried to come out and make it as a shocking statement that if a single mother goes to the hospital and has a baby, then she's the same, that she has single custody. That's not shocking. She's the only person to have she's the only person to have custody at the time. Of course she does. Like
the context is clear. I agree with Bam.
Yeah, like she is the single.
But why is it 60-40? Why not 50-50?
Because Texas is, who knows? It's Texas.
There's only four states that have 50-50 law right now. Florida is one of them. It's Florida, Kentucky, and I forget the two other states off the top of my head.
Yeah, but Michigan has.
With a guy and gets pregnant. That guy doesn't now control like everything related to their child if they don't have any relationship.
Guys,
they give a boost for women because obviously the women's is going to be obviously.
Yeah, they're biologically suited for the role.
Yeah, guys are
actually women are the number one abusers of children.
That's why.
Also, to this conversation,
females abuse their children at way higher rates than men.
True.
True. This is a statistically factual statement.
Wait. The reason why this conversation is not really comparable is because if we're doing like the
everybody's gonna keep
marriage, the mother-father conversation. The reason why there is a case regarding marriage is because there's a legal document that confirms that they are together, and the reason why they're unmarried, you can confirm that because biologically, you can confirm that they're related to the kid. But in this case, both legally and biologically, the biological parents have the leverage in this case, not the surrogate mother. So in this situation, it's just not.
That's not how the law is going to work. It's not in their favor. And that's what I'm trying to explain to you.
The judge says
law is working like that.
It is currently in litigation. We don't know how it's going to end.
It is a temporary injunction to stop the child from leaving. There's a temporary injunction, and the child is not going anywhere. The child is held in the hospital in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
That is the current injunction.
Challenging it.
No, Riddell, it's more than just challenging it. Like the kid can't leave. Like that is like a
yeah, that's obvious.
But in terms of parental rights, the parental rights are to the biological parent.
Right now. Yeah.
Right now, nobody has rights, and the hospital is ordered to keep the child alive and in best condition. So the hospital is determining of care at this moment to make sure that the child is kept in the best condition.
No, that's not true. The biological
yes, it is. The judge ordered that the child receives all life-saving operations.
Yes, but that's going to happen.
But any medical decisions after that is made by the biological
That's ordered
parent.
for anyone. That's not just with children. That's with all people.
Let's go to.
I had a couple more points. I got sidetracked.
Okay. Sorry.
If they did in any way state that they want the child to abort it, I'm moving on. If they did in any way state that they want the child aborted, then they relinquished all claim to the child because they said to kill it. Is my argument. And also, it's her body, her choice. I don't know why we left that. And then y'all are giving.
I started with that.
I'm going to skip number 4 because I already made it that you're giving surrogates more rights than fathers get. And then in the example where the woman fled Texas to get an abortion in another state, she would actually be criminally charged in Texas for having that abortion, even in another state, because the law in Texas says you're not allowed to leave Texas to get an abortion.
That's right.
So, and,
even better.
And then when she was given criminal charges, civil action would follow and be granted because she committed a crime.
Yeah, we can't.
Which is very different than the case that's happening now.
Nobody's telling her to do an abortion.
That's strangers coming for her.
And then in Maine,
I'm arguing for what. Okay.
My last and final argument is that in Maine, where there are abortions up to full term, they could force her to have an abortion because it's not murder, because the abortions are fully legal all the way to term.
There's still a question about whether or not.
Let's go to Frank Connor.
And they're about to find Lindsay Clancy not guilty of murdering her children too.
We're going to be letting Connor. We're letting Connor, and then politics. JK. Have you been trying to get in?
The 2020 election was stolen.
Nonsense right there. A couple of those comments.
I know what he just said wasn't true. Just making sure we're aware of that.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say.
That wasn't true.
To be clear, it's not been tested. It's not been tested, so we don't know for sure. But
no, it has been tested. You can't force someone to have a medical procedure. The Supreme Court decided that a long time ago, unless it's at risk of a pandemic or something. Unless you have a super contagious thing.
There's certain circumstances.
You can't have someone down and have an abortion.
If you have one exception, there's an argument for more. I agree. There's no case law saying that you can.
There's no exception.
Slippery slope.
I agree.
No,
Look,
no.
Stop. To be clear, there is no case law that I'm aware of that in the situation of a surrogacy, that if there's a valid contract or whatever that mandates a particular action that includes termination, like what this would actually entail. I'm not aware of any case law on this and what actually that would entail. I don't know. Now, I agree with you that they probably wouldn't enforce it in a way where like they held the fucking woman down? Like that would be probably not work out.
That's already case law.
But I'm. Which case law? Which case?
I'll send it. Don't worry about it.
Sure.
Okay. Let's go to our friend Connor.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to reiterate shit because I think we're all over the map here. I still stick by the fact that the woman who is carrying the child, as soon as they basically said that they wanted an abortion, she can't be compelled to have the abortion. I think that the whole argumentation too, I also think there's something here where it's like, we have to realize that the process of pregnancy is an extremely intense hormonal thing where ultimately there have been cases of surrogates wanting to keep the child after the fact. And you're going to have some like weird clauses there. I think the closest thing that I can come to the donor parent sympathetic view is actually what Lactoid articulated earlier, which it's like, if it's your biological material, if they're implanted with your healthy egg, your sperm, et cetera, then at that point, I think you're going to have parental rights. So what I would say, actually, I just figured it out as I was articulating it.
Here?
If it's her, if it's the surrogate's egg and the males have sperm, then she has some level of parental rights. If it's 100% the original donor parent's egg and sperm implanted, then I think that it's going to have to be decided by the court, but ultimately they're going to have parental rights.
Do you think this should be the case even if they wanted to do the abortion?
Well, now even if they wanted to do the abortion, yes, but apparently what they're willing to commit based off of a news article I read is they're not only willing to commit to parent the child, they're committing to the full suite of treatment for the kid's cardiac issues.
Yeah.
So if they're willing to say that, like, because the surrogate is saying, I'm not rich, but I have people who are willing to help me take care of the full suite of medical issues. If they say, not only do we want the kid, but we are committing to taking care of the health issues, then yeah, I mean, it's their sperm, it's their egg.
To be fair, though,
surrogacy, so to
be fair, though,
not only is it their sperm and their egg, but earlier I heard a progressive online political commentary guy named Prime Kai refer to the fetus as a child.
Yeah, kid. Yeah,
and so,
I always do.
But to be clear, in this situation, when you're saying, well, they're agreeing to pay the full cost of the suite of the medical procedures, they're also hoping to get $100,000 reimbursement from the surrogate because they're currently suing her.
Absolutely should. Yeah, makes sense. But like, hold on. So hold on, Connor.
Listen, having a conscience costs money.
$100,000 though.
No.
Yeah.
I would say exclusively what they paid up to the fucking the abortion determination.
Okay.
They apparently that was like $60,000.
Okay.
Minus whatever cost she incurred carrying on.
No, because they would have paid that anyway. They would have paid that either way, Connor.
They already paid her costs, like whatever. She has no cost.
No, she has costs in food and supplementation.
They already paid that. They already get paid those costs. All of that is reimbursed. But
I'm saying those costs shouldn't be reimbursed in the damages.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I see. I see the other way.
Yeah,
okay. Fair enough. Let's go to Connor. Connor, you've got my understanding is like a few boys, right? Let's say when your wife is pregnant with your children, that along the way you're like, money's tight, like this Warhammer thing that I got going on YouTube. I'm building something, but it's not where I want it to be right now, right?
Okay.
Not sure we're going to be able to swing this, right? And then you say to her, right, hey, I think we should abort, right? And then you say that on a Wednesday night, and then Thursday night you pray on it or whatever the fuck you do. I'm not sure, but like let's say you pray on it, right? And you get inspiration from the Lord. The Lord tells you, no, that baby, you can make it happen, right? Like, not only will I support you, Connor, and your endeavor, not only will your Warhammer channel explode, but this baby will go on to do great things. You have to have that baby. And then you come back on Friday and you say, well, of course, we have to have this baby. Because you made the decision on a Wednesday, did you give up all rights? Now, does she get to take that baby and like, well, I have 100% rights? You gave up rights to the baby because you decided that you wanted to abort.
Okay, so I'm with you in that the easiest answer is no, right? Like the easiest answer is you have not given up all rights. You had a crisis of faith. Your crisis of faith has been alleviated. Therefore, a temporary crisis of faith should not determine the outcome in perpetuity. However, I do think that I also need to say simultaneously that there is especially from a conservative view, there is such a moral issue here where effectively like that weakness, the heart issue is actually one thing, because I think that complicates it to such a degree that it's like, oh, well, if the kid's going to suffer anyways, and if they're going to die early and this, that, the other. But you used a financial example, and I just think I need to point out from a conservative worldview, that would never fly. There would never be a child that is unwanted because of material privation.
I understand. Like, forgot a way that makes sense in a conservative stamp. Hold on 1 second. Conservatives actually make this decision all the time. Actually, want to
put just because they're hypocritical pieces of shit doesn't mean that you don't try to strive towards an ideal.
I understood. Okay, yeah. So you can say that from a theoretical conservative standpoint. Yes, it's never strive. Conservatives actually go through abortions, though, right? Whatever.
Yeah, you can say they're hypocrites.
They do it all the time. So then you're a hypocrite there, and in that moment, you're a hypocrite. But then later on, again, God fills you with the Spirit or whatever the fuck, right? And then you come to your senses, and then you decide, yeah, you're going to keep the kid.
If we made it medical, by the way, I think the reason why it gets more complicated with medical, and sorry if I'm digging in too deep, but when you make it medical, there's, for instance, there's almost like the cost benefit analysis, right? Okay, so you have a child, they're not going to live as long, they might even go through extreme pain, they're going to have to do routine surgeries, this, that, the other. Well, if you get an abortion, then who's to say that you wouldn't have a healthier child later on, and then therefore you wouldn't have to put them through all this difficulty, et cetera, because you're not just making the choice for yourself, you're also making the choice for the child. This child, by the way, I think I checked out the surgery stats. They have to have a surgery within the first year. By the first 5 years, only 75% of the kids live. And then by the time that they're 20 or something, they have to have another surgery. And they're only 65% of the kids live. And I think somebody brought up earlier that they only live to be in their 30s and 40s. So I could understand, even if you're a religious person, you might, Muslim, for instance, this would still be a difficult calculation.
Well, I mean, not even only 30s to 40s would be better than nothing, right?
Well, in my opinion, absolutely. I mean, whoever said that, I thought it was quite funny that they were like, "You're gonna die young, like 30 or 40," and I'm like fucking 38.
Yeah. Like I'm in my 30s. I'm pretty happy.
Hey, you guys are both young. All right, so that's
my back does not feel young. I feel a lot older.
But I mean, that also goes to the point, because I was the one who said it, in terms of, and this is kind of how you perceive life. Of course, if you're more conservative, I understand that. But some people would argue, especially if you're parents, do I want my child raising up in a life where they're constantly, in the hospital, constantly doing surgeries, not living the best life, constantly in pain, not being able to process things properly? Like, is a life worth living if you're barely living life?
Yeah,
then that's just kind of the conversation when you're a parent at that point.
Teddy Roosevelt was sickly and had asthma. They were going to say he was going to die.
True,
And he
definitely
pushed himself to working all
sure.
the way through. And he's like one of the most successful people in all American history. He's like the ultimate American. And you're over here saying Teddy Roosevelt should have just died.
Definitely.
We're doing an abortion debate.
Yeah,
right? We're not doing an abortion debate. Why do we
okay, we're an
abortion debate?
But it's kind of related, to be fair.
It's a surrogacy debate,
right. But it's a surrogacy about somebody who tried to have an abortion, like force an abortion.
Yes, hon. We're talking about like the law, right? Like as it applies to to these different locations and to these contracts, right?
Yeah.
Abortion, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, does exist, right?
No,
and it's central to the case, right? But not that whether it exists. That doesn't exist.
I understand, but we're talking about as it relates to what should be the case, right? So Connor answered probably not, and I would agree that, like, in a situation of where it's not like a but-for question, probably not the dad would lose his rights. But I think that they're in a situation where, like, but for her stopping him or like intentionally taking some action to prevent it from happening, I think at that point maybe the other party should potentially lose their rights. Like if she's like, let's say this situation, the same situation you gave, but like instead of like the guy praying for a couple like hours or days or whatever and then coming back and being like, actually I'm on board, right? That's one scenario. What if she had to fucking move because like he was like coercing her or harassing her, or she felt intimidated, or she felt like he was like gonna sue or something like that, and so she had to flee the state to like in order to make sure that this abortion doesn't happen? In a situation like that, I'm much more sympathetic to him not having any parental rights and to her have all the parental rights actually in that case. I think that when we're talking about like, well, the kid's going to have like medical procedures, the reason we're bringing this up is people are trying to like rationalize the biological parents' decisions to try to push this abortion and then also sue because the abortion didn't happen. But what Gibbs is saying, I think, is correct in that he's the one saying that it almost doesn't matter. Because we're not talking about like a situation like Tay-Sachs. We're talking about a kid that has a chance to live up to 30 and 40, and a lot of healthy friends of mine haven't lived to see 30 or 40.
Yeah, but at the same time, that's just an argumentation on you don't think that the conditions itself is worthy of the the abortion, and that's a fine like moral foundation to have. But ultimately, this is something that it was generally agreed upon, that if something was wrong with the baby, if there was that medical condition, that both of them understood that might need to be the case. So this conversation was already on the table. So the conversation you're having is like, okay, I'm curious at this point though. Should it be on the table in the first place?
No.
Should it have been in the contract?
Yes, in terms of the medical circumstance of the baby. Should that be something that is on the table for the surrogate mother and the biological parents to consider in terms of
the only
not in surrogacy with a live human being?
Well, the only circumstance I can accept would be in like the Tay-Sachs situation that Connor was describing, where we're talking about the kind of disease that there is no fighting shot. Like you don't come back from that, which is true. I mean, Tay-Sachs is one of the worst things. I mean, you're dead by 2 years old, and there's no coming back from that.
What's the threshold? What's your threshold for that? Who decides what the threshold is?
If it's a known disease that is 100% fatal.
Well, this is 100% fatal, just a certain amount of
not.
time. So what's the length of time? But how fatal within how long?
It's
Sure,
also
a couple
I would say
years,
with
not 30,
Tay-Sachs,
40.
it's also
Well, sure, there's a
the
big gap there.
suffering is a part of the calculation because the quality of life is just absolute dog
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, like, there's
it's
no-
like perpetual physical suffering for
Yeah.
the 2 years that the child exists.
No,
Yeah,
I
no,
agree.
I
I'm just saying
agree. There is a rate. Like you were saying, where like
Where are
the
you
threshold
drawing
test.
that line?
Where's it's not a black and white. I will have to accept that. But for me, the threshold is pretty strict. It is going to be like 100% fatality rate, and then within a couple years or within the amount of time to where it's like we're not talking about somebody who's living to 30 or 40. Which again, I have friends that have died before me. They're in their 20s and they were perfectly healthy, but accidents happen and shit. I mean, life is not guaranteed to any of us.
Sure.
I don't think 20 or 30 is I think that's perfectly reasonable.
My question for
I feel like you're asking the question. You're answering the question based off of your threshold for abortions in general, more so.
Yes, that's what I would apply to this contract. That's what I would apply to this contract.
I thought that was pretty.
Yeah, I was definitely asking.
But
for more prescription.
Yeah, that's just. Oh, okay. Maybe that's the question you were asking.
Well, no, but and to be clear, I would apply that to the contract as well. So if you put this in the contract for a surrogacy, like to me, it would only be enforceable for these particular diseases.
So,
but at the same time, at that point, it's a difference in kind of moral prescriptions, but in identifying what the parents are doing. Do you understand where they're coming from? I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying, do we understand the context of where the parents are coming from based off what the law currently is?
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, of course, I understand.
Because we're kind of
I generally look
to kill the kid. That's why I'm.
I understand generally where people come from. Like I try to, even if I heavily disagree with them or if I think they're wrong. Like, I understand. I just don't. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't allow it.
My question.
So did you? Oh, could you answer the question from earlier related to the?
I'd like to ask.
Could you answer the question like earlier related to like the person fleeing the state in the drug deal? Or or it doesn't have to be drug. It could be making a hamburger, whatever. Like
right. No, my question was my answer that I gave was I don't know how that would work out in that situation because we're talking about like a failure to provide a commodity as opposed to no. I know you're saying a service, but like this is a different kind of service than like what we normally refer to as service. We're talking about some like whether you like legally speaking like. People's bodies have unique protections compared to services and compared to goods. They just do. Like I have certain rights over my body, medically speaking, that I don't have over products.
Sure, but I'm saying like
it's tough. I don't know.
I agree, but I'm saying that like that's why I say make it a service and not a product.
Are you asking me a should question or an is question?
Should, because I'm want to talk about bodily autonomy. I'm saying that like if you pay me to wash your car or make a burger, whatever, provide like there's no thing in the world, there's no legal precedent in the world that'll ever physically make me go through with the act if I don't want to. But there has to be a point where you can decide to like, oh, okay, well you didn't perform.
No, I hear you, and I would agree with you on the should point. So like, I think it should generally be the case that if you contract in a place where it's legal to do something, and to be clear, to me, I'm hedging this. It should, like I would, including here that the thing should be legal in the first place. Okay, so if you're doing a contract for something that should be legal and is legal, then I would be okay with it being enforced to do it, even if you fled to a different state where it was illegal.
Well, you shouldn't be enforced to do it. I disagree. I'm arguing about it. Like you can't make me wash your car. Like you can't make me go through that process, but you can make me pay for not doing it.
No, we make
sure. So, but you can. It's a legal. You can. It's called specific performance. You can get a court to compel you to do something. You can.
I disagree. I disagree with that. I think that should.
You do. Oh, you display. Okay, fair enough.
I'm arguing that I'm actually been the person that's been consistent in this. You can't. I don't think you can compel somebody's bodily autonomy to perform service, and I'm okay with that. But they can pay.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Are you saying there should be no surrogacy at all?
Well, that's not what he's saying. I understand what he's saying. Yeah, I understand what I understand the point you're trying to make. The point you're trying to make is that no, this person should not have been compelled. Like there should be no compelling to get an abortion, and there should be no compelling to do any kind of labor. But if you make a contract and then you go to a state where you can't fulfill that contract, you should have to pay some amount of money. And the question, when you say some amount of money here, how much money are you putting here when you said before the emotional toll of knowing that there's some being out there with half your genes?
I think
what's the dollar figure on that?
I think there's one. I don't know what that number is,
1
but
million.
That's one aspect of it. There's an aspect of like, oh, okay, this is this could have been my last egg that I had been saving for insemination. This is my last chance of having. You're laughing like that's not a possibility.
But you wanted to terminate it though.
Yes,
in this situation. So how is that relevant to the contract?
It's still my decision. Again,
but
you seem why you take away people's ability to make a decision? Like if I hit my money,
this is the critical. Stop. This is the critical misunderstanding. You seem to think that merely the act of breaking the contract, that in of itself is some kind of compensable damages, as opposed to what are the damages that flow from breaking the contract. That's the disconnect here. Because if you're saying, well, what if it was my last egg? So I wanted to abort it, but then she said no. Well, if you wanted to abort it, then in that case, you would have had no eggs anyway. So that doesn't matter.
I don't think the law agrees with you, but I guess you're not arguing from the law, I guess.
But hold on. No, to be clear, the law sort of agrees with me in the sense that you can put like liquidated damages stipulations in contracts, but it's got to be for like an estimate as to what your actual damages are. It can't just be any number. Yeah, like I can't put it. I cannot put it in a contract where you owe me $1 million if you break it, unless I can prove to the court that I'm out $1 million. Yeah, right. I have to be out that money. And so the question is, if I don't get an abortion, what are you out? The decision.
Pain and suffering is a real thing. First of all,
yeah, it is, but emotional pain and suffering is very fluffy. It's very fluffy, and it's also very fluffy when it comes to.
I don't care about any of that,
right?
No. It exists, but it doesn't. Does it exist in this situation? I don't think so. I'm not aware of it. The emotional toll of knowing that your genes are out there.
No, the emotional toll of knowing that that your child is suffering a horrible disease that you otherwise wouldn't have wanted them to go through.
That is definitely that's more convincing, and I think
that's how you would phrase it if you were their lawyer. But I don't know if that would actually hit.
Unique, right? If my genes exist somewhere out there, I want them destroyed.
It's my religious beliefs.
Right? For the sake of the world, there should only be one prime. Let's go to.
There's probably plenty of places.
If you had sex with a girl and she stole the condom and went and had a baby by you, people would actually.
I'd have a big problem. No, I actually agree.
No, I can answer this. I can answer this. If I don't have to pay, I actually see it as a good thing. I see it as like the more genes that propagate, it's like me living on, so I can like live on through my progeny.
Yeah, I have a big problem.
Are you going to take care of the kid though?
No. I just said like if I don't have to pay, so like that's a good thing. If I have to pay, then it kind of sucks, right? Because I like money.
I think there was even like was there a Law and Order episode dealing with that fact? A crazy woman that like said she was in love with a guy and she stole his sperm, like they didn't have sex.
Look, I've been through a breakup. I know the phase you get into.
Yeah, what if someone steals your sperm?
Or just pokes holes in the condom because they're crazy bitches. This is a normal thing that happens all the time where I'm from.
Like people feel violent.
That's why I bring my own.
It happens to rich dudes. If it hasn't happened to you, you're not rich enough.
I was about to say, no offense, but I don't know a lot of people on this panel have had their sperm stolen. Okay,
that's fair. That's fair.
I'll be honest. You might think this is paranoid, but I have like specifically.
You can be broke as fuck. They're like that guy.
Specifically, taking condoms.
I have hid condoms before, like because there was this one person I was I hid the condoms afterwards, for sure.
Let's go to JK and then we're gonna Riddell.
Some girls.
So mine's actually oddly somehow connected to what we were just talking about. But if my question is, if we believe that life begins at conception, what does it matter what the vassal is that carries it after that conception? That baby is alive and it is the parent's child at conception. So why are we giving any rights to the person carrying it if that's your worldview?
Can I hit that?
Good question. Yeah.
Connor, don't help them.
Well, who's this for?
Any of the conservatives who think that life begins at conception.
We're having the abortion.
Well, I mean, to be fair, though, I don't think life begins at conception necessarily has anything to do with who has rights to care for the kid.
Who the parents
I'll give a non-meme answer. So I think that if you actually have seen somebody get pregnant up close, you can understand that there's a whole biological, not specifically the sex act. Although I guess we all have seen that a little bit.
You've done this
all right, if you've been around a pregnant woman, Yeah, if you've been around a pregnant woman for extended periods of times, then what you'll notice is that like it's a symbiotic process, right? Like the fetus is reliant upon the mom, but the mom is also receiving like hormone washes from the fetus, and so as a result, there's a bond that's typically there that's necessary. Like we're creatures that have arguably been around for hundreds of thousands of years. This is like a symbiotic process. So the reason why I'm accounting for this as a part of the surrogacy thing, I agree with you. I wish we could just simply delineate whose genetic material is this? Okay, the egg was donated by somebody else. The sperm was donated by somebody else. This is their child. And honestly, I think legally that probably makes it a lot easier. But I think you still have to account for that like a symbiotic process. I've said that 3 times now of like sure, you're cooking the baby inside the mom, but the mom is also being affected by the baby. And that's why we're including this.
I agree with that.
Actually,
I agree with
I
that.
have a different answer.
But if that baby is already born and that is already a baby in a person at 2 cells, that's if that's your worldview, it should be no question that the 2 people who donated the cells to it are the parents.
I wish it was that simple.
Oh no, I agree with you in general. I just, from the conservative point of view, if you thought those 2 cells,
I
made
agree.
the
He's
person,
not the conservative point of view.
I actually agree with that take 100%.
But I mean, let me just.
And we're gonna have incubators soon.
Tell us how hating surrogate moms is the conservative perspective, please.
Let's go to. Sorry, Riddell, I think had a second first, and we'll go to you, Gibbs.
Well,
and then I have an answer to the question.
The question definitely pivots to a different conversation, and then it does make me wonder that Connor brings it up, and these are objectively true points in terms of the relationship between the mother and the fetus. But so what? What is the so what there? What does that account for? Just realizing something that is true, does that mean that you change your result?
Well, so back to I don't. Are you asking me since I'm next? Or
Well, Connor,
no.
You can give your.
Yeah, it's a decent question.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I gotta be honest. I guess this is gonna probably answer both questions, really, because Bam said something interesting earlier, right? He said that he was the most consistent on the panel, and I think he is one of the more consistent people. I'll tell you who else is really consistent, and it's gonna be me on this one, right? Because I actually agree with
Texas
politics. Yeah, all that's well and good. I generally have the conservative viewpoint on life. But here's the bottom line. I have a system of hierarchies in my life. And in that system of hierarchies, it is going to be Texas nationalist.
I fucking knew it.
Adjacent things. And Tim Paxton, you better bet your ass if you don't win this fucking case and win this jurisdiction battle, you are in for a world of problems, motherfucker. What? You better win this case. And so I'm gonna be honest, it really comes down to it, and I'm gonna be real consistent. I don't care what my personal beliefs are, because the more important battle to me is the jurisdiction belief, because guess what? That's gonna help me way more in the long run than any of this other shit. So,
because the thing you're loyal to is Texas land above anything else.
That's right. And if I need to fucking knock somebody up, we're gonna make sure I'm in Texas so that I have parental rights. Because we'll give me a clue.
Hold on, this guy's saying that you wouldn't have parental rights.
Yeah, I know people that help write the law, so I will be all right.
They're gonna change the law for you, Gibbs? I don't think so.
No. You just know how to make sure you get this stuff in writing beforehand.
No.
Okay.
We're literally talking about a situation in which they try to get stuff in writing, and this is not.
Before I go to Lacquered and Poetic, right? I want to toss something up. I want to toss a bomb in here, right? A little bit, because I was inspired by my friend Connor. Okay. So yeah, you. Because you said something interesting, and also partly inspired by Poetic, right? Poetic, when he came in here, believed, and as far as we know, this is incorrect, that the the contracting parents were like a gay couple, right? That's what their initial impression was. Okay, as far as we know, that's not the case. Yeah, no worries. But let's say that was the case, right? Let's say that there was 2 dudes, right? And they want to have a baby, right? They want to have their own baby. And then they're like, okay, we're gonna do a surrogacy. But it turns out both of them are sterile for whatever reason, right? And so they get a sperm donor, right? And then they get an egg donor, and then but for they go through the process of the service of implanting into a surrogate, right? Who is the parent?
Ooh.
Yeah,
Well,
because there's no
the
biological
surrogate
matter now.
mother is probably going to use her own egg, so it's like,
No.
Yeah, but then that strengthens her claim.
yeah,
No,
it does.
that's the point.
I'm telling you, no. I don't change the hypothetical. I've given
Yeah,
you.
you want to leave it morally quite clear.
Yeah.
So they
that
get
it's
a
like
sperm donor,
because
egg donor,
because
and
they
then
would potentially be adoptive parents of a surrogate child. Does that trump the surrogate's right of carrying the child? And fuck, man, I got no goddamn idea. I don't even want to be the judge in that case. I don't want to be the jury in that case. I don't want to be awarding civil damages. I don't want to be doing shit. I don't want to be around that because that is like. Yeah,
honestly,
and then add in the abortion too. That complicates it even more.
Oh God!
Honestly, when you said I didn't hear the egg part, so that's why that came to my mind.
Donor egg, donor sperm, and a surrogate. So basically, but it's not biologically related to either parents because both parents are sterile.
I get it now. I get it now. So, I mean, the only thing that can determine a level of right ownership would still just be the legal documentation at that point. I'm be honest.
What is it?
Right.
Because
he's asking what it should be.
Told,
That's what he's asking.
According to our friend Poetic keeps saying, and I know this is apparently for Texas, but like Poetic says this is true for all 50 states. Now I'm just going to take his word for it. I haven't looked it up, right? But that like if it comes out of surrogate's vagina, then it's their baby, right? Even though
there's no surrogate contract or no honored surrogate contract.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
okay. So we have a surrogate contract. So basically what I'm saying is here, right? Okay, there's contracts all around. The gay couple, right, gets a contract from the sperm donor, right? Like you give up parental rights. Gets a contract from the egg donor, you give up parental rights. Get a contract from the surrogate, you give up parental rights. Everyone has signed it, right? And everyone agrees until, just like I said at the very start, someone gets off base. Right? Someone gets off page, and now like they are saying, "No, it's my baby." Right?
Yeah.
Then what happens?
So this is going to be my statement. I think the gay parents should still have the rights. I think in Texas they will definitely lose that case.
Bam.
Ooh.
Yeah. Because Lacto, you talked about like but fors, right? Well, but for
I know
the gay couple.
What's a but for?
Baby wouldn't
exist. Speaking about gay, yeah. Fair enough. That's a tough question. My standard, and this is going to tie in, I guess, with the prior question that was asked. My standard of like who has guardianship over a child, I don't see it as ownership, right? Human beings can't be owned. The question is one of guardianship. And I think that guardianship comes from the same principle, like over a child is under the same principle really that it applies to anyone else, which is that if you put somebody in a situation where they need you to see themselves out of the danger, then you have an obligation to see them out of the danger. And if you accept that responsibility, then you have that responsibility. And so in a situation of the surrogate, I guess, accepting responsibility to take care of the child, then they would have the guardianship over the child. In this case, where all of them, like we're not talking about any of them trying to have an abortion, like all of them actually want to establish guardianship over the child. That is, to me, like an exceedingly tough question. But I would just, honestly, put it at whichever arrangement would be best for the child, and whatever kind of currency like that was expended, we try to equalize that as much as possible.
I would say in my case, it's absolutely the gay couple, and I don't know why it's even a question. The gay couple is the one who went through the surrogacy process. They gathered the biological, genetic material, right? They had it implanted at great expense, right? And then now, like they should have
the expense. Yeah, if they don't get the kid, they should have the expense at least reimbursed.
But I was say Lactoid says they should get the kid. Lactoid says you can own a person, but I own Lactoid every Monday on the Reverie. Ooh,
that's true.
That was a great one. But actually, I want to ask, who is this? This guy,
Poetic.
Poetic. I want to ask you, I want to ask you because I want to talk about Texas because I don't know, something just makes me want to talk about Texas. Let's see, surrogate mom in some gay state you don't like. Yeah, couple who wants to like there's a couple, but they never agree. They never decide I want an abortion. Like, do you believe that if a surrogate decides at any point to just flee to Texas, then like is that like a getaway free card? They can just keep the baby, like act like the biological parents never changed their opinion on wanting the baby.
Cities right now? You're arguing against sanctuary cities now?
No, I'm asking. I'm curious if that's his
Yes,
opinion.
Texas has become a sanctuary city for surrogates. That's what he's saying.
Well,
Anyways,
let's
okay.
say
I have two clarifying questions for you.
I want you to answer that, and then I actually want to know if anyone feels that like due to processes like this, surrogacy should just be made illegal. I think that was even Prom even brought it up as a thing.
I have two questions. I have two
well, if you believe
questions.
that the contract is illegal, then maybe it should be illegal. But okay, you answer that.
In this hypothetical where she flees to Texas, are the other two parents? Is there a surrogacy contract that has been like submitted to the court already?
She's been submitted, but not in Texas. She just decided
but the court in the other state has validated the surrogacy contract.
Sure.
Okay, and was the surrogate couple trying to push her to have an abortion?
No, they wanted the baby, but she left, and she decided she wants to be a mother now. Like she's had this baby, she's become attached to it because of all of the emotional reasons that counterpoints brought up. And she's like,
now I think you guys completely misunderstood my position on this. Actually, no, in that case, 100% the baby would go back to the surrogate couple, and I think
that's not what Texas state law says, right?
So, no, you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. Is that I think eventually the legal system would work it out that way. But what happens right now across the nation is that mothers are automatically given the custody and presumed to be the best interest of the child in all 50 states. The surrogates and the fathers have no inherent right. We have to fight for our rights. In the same way that in this situation, the surrogate couple that you're hypothetically stating is going to have to sue and fight through court to get that child back, and that has to happen. And every father in this nation and every surrogate couple in this nation is going to have to face this reality every single day, every single time one of these women decide to flee to another state to have their child. It happens all the time in custody courts today. It happens all over the country, and nationwide is a problem. You have no rights. The mother inherently, at the moment of birth, has all the rights, and you have to legally fight to establish your right.
I agree. I'm with you.
Okay.
So why
he's being descriptive.
Why don't we end on this? Because you're correct, Bam. We never actually dealt with that one last question on whether surrogacy should be illegal. So for my usuals here, right? And right now I think that would just be a Lactoid and Gibbs.
Wow. Yeah.
That's disrespectful.
Yeah.
Bam never comes on, really.
I've been signed on like 6 years. I go like I was 7.
Who the fuck is this guy? He's down here fucking.
I'm giving you $6 every month.
Motherfucker.
I appreciate you all. To be clear, right? But
Thinks he gets owns when he doesn't.
The only reason I'm calling out Lactoid and Gibbs here is for the third person I'm going to interject in here, because Lactoid and Gibbs were around when we had a person on this panel called Fairy Queen FQ, right? For FQ, like if you guys will remember, her big thing was about surrogacy, right? Well, one of the big things. So she had a few things, but like surrogacy was a big thing for her, and she had a big problem with surrogacy. And she said like these things, the whole system should be illegal, right? We shouldn't have it for a whole list of reasons, right? And so now like one of the reasons were because these contracts can have taking advantage of the surrogate mother, because you can put them in all kinds of like really difficult situations. We haven't talked about we didn't even really get to all the other cases. There's a whole list of other cases of like craziness that happens in surrogacy cases, right? Like where like these rich individuals who are the biological parents or whatever, or the contracting parents at the very least, like use their money against the surrogate, right? And in court, like put her into crazy legal battles. It's insane, but we haven't even touched that. We haven't.
That's what's happening in this case right now.
We haven't touched that. Like for instance, surrogates, like a lot of them will come from poor countries, right? Their services will go there and get these women to do this, right? And it's like, well, I guess it's a good case from them. They did agree, but like they're putting their bodies through craziness. And then sometimes they don't even get paid, right? That's another thing, whether they even follow the contracts. Because, like I said, the surrogacy case law is the Wild West, right? Especially when you're talking about like international borders. We haven't put that into here, right? Like what happens if the surrogate mother is from another country? Because that complicates things as well. So, considering that and the crazy case, the Frankenstein case I just came up with, right, with like the different parents, you know, and none of them have a clear case. Considering all of that, should surrogacy be illegal, right? We can go around. Everyone can just make their point, and they're like, well, like, what do you think about this? Like, is it just too complicated? Does it put us in these crazy situations? Especially like we're usually talking about one-off cases, right? Where like the exact situation just is probably not going to come up again, very unlikely to come up again. But like they're all very, very difficult for the sake of, you know, families. Should we not have these things? So I'll ask you all, and if you want, you can give an outro too, since we're already past time. So let's start with our friend Lactoid.
Lactoid, you can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Really appreciate the conversation with everybody. Yeah, it's good to talk with all of you. I currently, I don't think, for the reasons provided, I don't think surrogacy should be illegal. I could be moved if you can give me evidence on the well-being of a child. For me, that's the central question here. So you could move me if you have data and arguments that I haven't heard when it comes to that. But this is why so much of my analysis here has been, it's not just about the contract, because we're talking about another person here at play, and that needs to be accounted for, right? That's somebody who wasn't a part of this contract, but has everything riding on this contract now, who wasn't there to sign it, but now is entirely dependent on how we view it. That's important, right? And we just have to respect the fact that there was somebody here who's deeply involved that didn't sign anything, and their rights need to be protected too. Straight up.
Fair enough. Okay, thanks so much for that. Let's go to our friend Riddell.
Yeah, I'll answer the question first. I don't think surrogacy should be illegal. If someone chooses to do it, which oftentimes is the case, then they have every right to. And I also believe that we probably should do more things that incentivizes having kids in general, especially in America. So that doesn't mean that what the outlier cases or even like the extreme cases that may not be talked about are obviously bad. And I'm making excuses for those. That just means that we probably should put more, guardrails around surrogate mothers in general. The question is what those guardrails should be. So I'll be pro anything that is, ensuring we have more kids. Ultimately, this is an interesting conversation. I do think it depends a lot on the fact pattern of when each person decided they were going to do this, not do this, what was in the contract. And if the parents decided, you know what, we're going to live with our child and we're going to try to make the best out of their lives, then they have every right to, based off how everything was built up until now. With that said, my name is Riddell. I run a podcast called The Purple Political Breakdown. You can find me on all audio platforms, YouTube channel, all that stuff. I have an upcoming episode talking with one of the heads of Digital Ground Game to talk about campaigning, as well as I plan to be in Vegas, like Gibbs, next month on the Sean Kelly Show to debate this guy named Marquay Burton to talk about how wrong he is. So got some couple stuff going on. And I do want to shout out that, we have all these conversations about like the right and the left. I do think subtly there is a movement of independent candidates that are, rising up, for example, in either Iowa or Idaho. I keep on forgetting those two states where an independent candidate for Senate got a Democratic candidate to drop out of the race because he was better than the Democratic candidate. So shout out independents. That's all I got.
Okay. Let's go to our friend Connor. I'm glad we could have this conversation. We didn't get to have it last week, and I know you were interested in it. So I'm glad you came back this week, and I thought it was a really good discussion.
Yeah, I'll try to be here as often as I can. I will be off September 14th. I think I'm doing a debate on Raging Tomato, but besides that, I plan on being a Prime Kai regular. So, to answer your question in reference to surrogacy, I know all the challenges. Gay couples are going to adopt, and foreign nationals are going to use it for this, that, the other reason, and it's going to enable this bad behavior and this bad behavior. I think there's enough cases that justify surrogacy's existence that it should maybe be regulated for extreme cases, and parental issues should be just litigated in a court. But if private people can come up with a private contract that allows them to compensate people for their time, energy, and money, then I don't have a problem with it personally. And it might even enable some people who otherwise wouldn't be able to have children to have kids that they want. So, and I'm all about having kids. So what I would say as my little shout out, though, I run Counterpoints Politics. I will actually no longer be on Valor Media Network starting on September 1st. We are parting ways, but they are giving me 4 months of severance, which is amazing. And so as a result, I will be independent on my own. I'll probably still keep the same schedule, streaming Monday through Friday. Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And then I'll be coming up on debates randomly for shits and giggles. I also run Counterpoints 40K, which is a Warhammer breakdown channel, Counterpoint Star Wars, and Counterpoint Sci-Fi. So check out all of those channels, and we'll have fun.
Thank you so much. I'm glad. I hope that change works out for you. And we're very happy to have you here as a regular, as much as you can be. You're a very valuable individual. So let's go to our new person to hear, Politics JK. Thanks for being here. We'd like to have you here in the future, see how you do. But yeah, it was nice having you around.
Yeah, it's great to actually be on here. I've watched most of you at some point, whether it was from an agreeing or disagreeing standpoint, some of you both. It's been fun. Nice meeting you guys. I'll definitely be back anytime I'm invited. But should surrogacy be illegal? I'm a liberal through and through. So no, I'm not going to go with we should just ban it just because it's complicated. I do, especially after having this conversation, I think we're going to need to come up with, as a country, some rules, regulations for it. So everybody's protected, both the surrogates and the surrogate or whoever's paying the surrogate. So everyone is going to be at least going into it, knowing what the result is of any situation. And it's not as confusing. And obviously that hasn't happened to this point. Will it actually happen? It's probably not big enough of an issue. So we're probably going to be looking at this for the foreseeable future, unfortunately.
Okay. Thank you so much. Something we didn't talk about is that my understanding is that there's a conservative split on IVF, right? On these non-natural births. We didn't really dig into that. That's just another complication here. But we'll leave that alone for now. Maybe some other day. Let's go to our friend Gibbs. Gibbs, you know what? We might have forgotten about Texas. It wasn't.
Never gonna let you forget about Texas. Remember the Alamo. Also, yeah. First of all, guys, here we got the battleground at World War Debate coming up on September 11th. If you want World War Debate tickets, by the way, the only way to get them is through our raffle. We have that in mind. Grids, Glen, and some other places. Just let us know. We will get that raffle information out there to you. And so also, it's going to be good. We got all sorts of good stuff coming up here. I'm excited. Now, finally, I do want to say I'm excited to hear that Texas has become the Underground Railroad for surrogates. Once again, Republicans are standing up for human rights, just like they did during the abolition period. Who would have thought that once again the Democrats are making arguments similar to what they did for returning slaves to their owners back in the day? I've heard a lot of crazy Republican takes tonight from total conservatives that have told us that we should be enjoying liberal world order because we're going to earn caviar and champagne. I don't know many conservatives here eating caviar and champagne, but I sure as fuck ain't one. Let's continue on down the list thing here. As for I've been pondering what Matt Toyd called me on about how Mr. Kim is down here. He's been telling us, hey, the fathers, they're not winning these cases. You know what? I would have to say, even in that case, at least my genetic legacy is passed on and given one more hot-blooded Texan to power the republic, the great republic, on forward. So that's a loss that I'm willing to take for the country of Texas. And, and that's also why, though, because a great state like Texas can always improve. We can have that. That's why we need to vote out
bad candidates like Dan Patrick, even though he's a Republican, and make sure we keep people like Paxton don't lose, and other candidates like our candidate down here, and get real change and stomp on our foot of the liberals and progressives when we have the chance to win the midterms. Y'all like hate anything I have to say. I don't give to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's go to Bam, who doesn't know how to answer personal DMs, who just says all of a sudden at the last minute, "Oh, I'll be there." Bam, if you could work on improving your etiquette on Discord, that would be really helpful. But other than that, like, I'm really happy you're here.
Absolutely, I'll try to work on that. It's just difficult since I'm not a regular on this platform, so I can't be expected to held to these standards. But I'll put some work into it. Actually, first answering the question related to surrogacy, I think that two things can't be true. I think if you believe that the contract itself is illegal, or the clauses of the contract are illegal, like especially around the related to the concept of termination or health issues related to the baby. If we can't have conversations about what that looks like in contract, then you can't have the contract. It should just be illegal to do. But if if we are able to have those conversations, which is current law, I believe, and what I think it should be, then yeah, I think that surrogacy does people good. I think that surrogacy in 99.9% of cases are dealing with people who really, really, really want children. They're willing to go to extended lengths to make that happen. So if they do have to come to a decision about that pregnancy ending, I'd like to have some good faith to believe that it's come from from good reason and extenuating circumstances, like this case. Outside of that, it's always fun. Glad to be here, and maybe I'll be here again. Who knows?
Okay. Maybe on and off. But thank you so much. And then let's go to our other new friend, unexpected, but definitely a fun addition, Poetic. Yeah, we'd love to have you here in the future. We love the passion, right? We love passionate people here. I mean, that's why Gibbs is here. So thank you, right? And another Texan. That's fantastic.
And he's got the same politics, by the way, foreign policy. You notice that was it's crazy.
Yeah,
probably no one else
wonderful.
Had it. Here we are.
But we love people with different opinions. So thank you for being here, really.
Oh, thank you very much for having me on. I'm still learning all the streaming ways that things happen, so I apologize if I also missed any messages during the interaction here. But it was a great time, and I really appreciate you having me on. You can find me at huffnagelfortexas.org. My campaign is taking donations right now, and we're trying to combat the most liberal district that Texas has seen in the last 100 years over here. We produced Jasmine Crockett, and now we have a HIV positive gay man that has passed 6 bills in 4 years and doesn't really do anything for the people out here. And the Democrats have been holding this as a stronghold, uncontested, for a long time. So we're trying to get donations right now to put up signs at each of the polling places and to continue our text campaign, which is making waves out here.
Are the signs that he's HIV positive? Is that what the signs will be?
Yo,
he's not just positive; he's HIV positive.
Yes. He is literally the first legislator to be HIV positive, and he's very proud. He runs a whole thing about it. And he proposed 3 bills for HIV treatments, and then 3 other bills that he co-authored, and those are the only bills he's authored in his 4 terms that I could find online doing research. But I'd love for him to come on and tell me I'm wrong, but he refuses to debate me. Venton Jones, you know where to find me. I've messaged you directly, and he keeps dodging my debates all day long. He won't come out. And but we're out here. We're pushing hard in South Dallas. And like I said, you can go to huffnagelfortexas.org and donate to my campaign as we try to crush the liberal left in Dallas. Thank you.
Certified HIV free, right?
I'm not against him for being HIV. I'm just against him because he wants drag brunches for our children and things like that, which are gross.
That's why you brought it up like 8 times. But
it was interesting that you brought it up. I would avoid doing that in the future if you don't want to look up.
Wow. Okay. So we are going to raid out. Holy shit! After that one, that's a great way to end things. For some reason, at the top of my list here.
Streamer? Is that like a type of streamer vibe?
Oh, that's great.
Sorry, what'd you say?
I would say is that like you could maybe find like an HIV positive streamer to end on.
Oh, HIV positive streamer.
I'm sure there's a streamer that makes that their content somewhere.
I'll have to look for that. We're just let's try to rate this Korean woman. Because I don't know.
Very low probability, Prime.
Damn, we could do this.
Hey, make sure she tells her country not to support Iran.
Yeah, you're supporting Iran right now. She's burning the oil for her computer.
We rated out. But thank you, everyone.